Jonathan Taylor. There he goes again. 50, 40, down the far sideline. He might do it again. 10, 5, touchdown. INDY.
Eastern Conference Championship has been captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Alex Pillow wins the 109th Indianapolis 500.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome into Wednesday. You made it to the midway point of the week here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. It is, I'll tell you what, with the time change, it's weird starting when it's completely dark. I guess we're kind of used to that. But that sun comes up a little while from now, and right across the street from our windows is a building with nothing but glass on the front of it. And for about 15 minutes, man, you just get blinded, not only from the studio lights up above, but then when you look down, normally you get blinded for about 15 minutes there, too. See, you're already wearing your glasses to work now. That's what happened already after yesterday.
Yeah, I've been wearing the glasses for a while, man. It gets early, and I'm like, the eyes need a rest from the contact, so I'm 4 eyes every 7 a.m.
Kevin's got a hat on today. That means no class in Bloomington this morning, right?
Indeed. That means I don't shower, and I'm not very sanitary.
We keep our distance here in the studio.
See, Caleb Zuber's the smartest guy here because he works in a room that he can see us all through glass, but he doesn't have to physically be near us right now.
I don't have to be around you guys.
He doesn't have to smell us, quite frankly.
No local basketball to watch last night. I don't know what you guys did with your TV, but real quickly, Kevin, I'll get to you in a second. But James, I finished up season 1 of Landman last night. You didn't tell me Jerry Jones was coming out of nowhere.
Wild show. When you get off our show, get done listening here, go check it out.
He was pretty good, though, in the little scene that he had.
It was. The show was wild. It's hard to describe.
Kevin, did you partake in any Tiger Woods viewing last night with TGO?
Watched a little. He didn't hit the golf ball too much, although he threw another little tease out there about the Masters. You are correct. No local basketball, but I do think we should mention a national champion crowned last night. The Marion women, the Knights. Santana Anderson, I hope I'm saying the coach's name correctly over there. They upset, I think that's fair to say, the number 1 overall team in the land. They're down at half. I saw some highlights late last night. Madison Bailey from Bedford played all 40 minutes. I think she had 23 or 24 points. I know the brother of, again, I hope I say her first name correctly, I think it's Kenna Kirby from Tri-West, is a big listener. He was in the YouTube chat yesterday, so shout out to the Knights, national champs over there. They've got a couple sisters from Coleraine, very powerful high school program out of Ohio there. They get it done. They win 4 games in that tournament, and they are national champs. So don't say that very often. So pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job, and, man, they've been on a roll, too. They lost 2 of 3 in the middle of the season. And then, James, they ran on, after last night, an 18-game winning streak to close out the season.
Yeah, I'm looking here.
35-2.
Yeah, I mean, that's an outstanding record. And, I mean, they really took the game by the horns early on, won 73-61. So,
but they were down at half.
No doubt.
They were down 4 at half, and they were able to come back. A huge third quarter has really kind of put them in control there for the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so they get that one done there, and now we start to turn our attention to other tournament games. Got the boys' high school state tournament happening for all the championships on Saturday. You'll hear all 4 games right here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. We'll talk about that a little bit as the show goes along. But, of course, Friday night, James, 7:10, San Jose. You going to jump on a quick flight to San Jose and then come back after a couple of games for Purdue as they take on Texas Thursday night?
Boy, I wish, but that will be a great matchup. And as Kevin said, you get a chance to, if Purdue advance, relax and kick your feet up and wait for that next matchup to kind of play itself out. But obviously, if you lose, you're feeling like, is the season is worth watching anymore? So I don't want to take that Texas matchup for granted and so they're automatically going to win that game. I do think Purdue should be favored, and beyond just seeding purposes, I think they're a better basketball team. But Texas will present some challenges for sure.
Yeah, you've watched these guys all 4 years now, this core group of seniors. They obviously have been close to getting it all done. The way they've been playing the last 6 games, they put everything together. I mean, it's 4 more games you got to win, and there's some intense competition out there. But how do you like their chances right now?
Well, it's funny, this is probably the last time they'll be favored all year. I think after
I think that's fair.
tomorrow, you're probably going to be the underdog. If you want to look at the seeds, Arizona, Michigan, Duke, that would be your final three. You imagine that gauntlet to cut down the net. So, yeah, this is kind of where I feel like as a fan, you almost transition during the week. We talked about it a lot on Monday, Tuesday. I think it's such a great time for a college basketball fan. If you're one of the final 16, you kind of kick the feet up on Monday or Tuesday and you're like, yeah, we're still alive. And all right, who's coming over Thursday night? Oh, man, that's great that we're in the 7:10, time slot and, all of that. And now it's like, oh, boy, here we go. Lock in. They're out in San Jose. You hope the CJ Cox knee didn't flare up too much on that flight. We'll see what the update is for Matt Painter today. Purdue will have an open practice out there in San Jose. But, yeah, certainly, Jeff, they've played great, great ball the last week and a half. But obviously the Braden Smith that we saw on Sunday cannot be the Braden Smith moving forward. That's probably stating the obvious here. I'm not that concerned with Texas. I don't want to act like this is just, layup lines for 40 minutes. But, again, after tomorrow night, you're going to be in a much different kind of role moving forward. And honestly, the big college basketball news last night with Hubert Davis getting fired by North Carolina.
They said they parted ways.
Hubert said he said it different. He said he'd been let go.
I'm just making a joke because, Kevin, we all know parts ways. But continue.
Yeah.
The key line is always, we wish you well on your future endeavors.
Language in a press release can make you laugh at times there. I think the buyout money would indicate what truly happened there. I did see a name mentioned there for North Carolina being Tommy Lloyd in Arizona. So, is that a question that Tommy Lloyd has to field later today out there in San Jose? Is that a question that maybe is a little bit more on Arizona's players' minds here in this day and age in college basketball? Maybe that doesn't matter as much. Seemingly everybody is on kind of one-year deals, but big news item last night from college basketball. And what's domino effect off of that? When's the last time the North Carolina job has been open and they haven't gone in the family? Like, there's no one in the family. That's obvious when you look at it. I mean, there's obviously no like coach and waiting situation here. So where are the dominoes around college basketball with that? And does Kansas open up? When is Bill Self going to make a decision on that? So, boy, crazy time. I think it's an awesome Sweet 16. And then if you want to look at it from college basketball as a whole, North Carolina is one of the best jobs out there, and now it's open.
And already there is all kinds of speculation. I was listening to a Charlotte station coming in this morning to see what they were thinking, and they're talking about Billy Donovan maybe from the Bulls. They're talking about, they want to go after Todd Golden, but Todd Golden's going to get a contract extension again, I think, in Florida.
Has Billy Donovan's name ever not been mentioned when a college basketball opening of prominence has come up in the last decade?
No, every time. And
Billy Donovan and Brad Stevens.
And Brad Stevens is another guy that they're talking about out there, too. It was those two, Brad Stevens and Billy Donovan. But here's the thing. When you're North Carolina and Kansas, and this always amuses me just a little bit in today's day and age, because I don't think blue blood today, whether it's Kentucky, whether it's North Carolina, whether it's Kansas, whether it's any of these, Indiana right now, those fan bases and administrations always think we can go get just about anybody we want. Well, we see how it's worked out in Indiana lately. Hopefully DeVries is an answer.
Did you mention Indiana as a blue blood with these programs?
My point is, in NIL, what's a blue blood anymore? What is a blue blood anymore?
That's a good question.
And if you're North Carolina, the idea that you would fire a guy that has had some success for you, maybe not the ultimate success that you're looking for to be another Dean Smith or Roy Williams, I get that. But they make these moves, and I don't know that they truly have a succession plan in place. They just figure, we're North Carolina. We'll go get anybody we want to right now.
I think you probably should have that mindset. Honestly, even in the NIL era, it's North Carolina.
But my point is you got to have a plan before you make these moves, and they've spent 2 days arguing back and forth with Hubert Davis. They asked him to prepare a whole plan for what it's going to look like if he stays, and then they reject that. It tells me they don't have a plan. That's the thing that drives me nuts.
Yeah, that was weird. Like the whole, I guess, make a case for yourself, like either make a decision to Jeff's point and move on. But I think Hubert Davis, I mean, outside of his first year there, getting to the national championship game, it was very underwhelming.
Almost won it.
Yeah.
Should have won it, probably.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a great game, but looking back on his tenure, the last 2 years getting bounced, I believe, in the first round. And I do wonder, okay, if Caleb Wilson stays healthy, does that change things for you this season? But nevertheless, you should not have lost a 19-point lead against VCU. That's tough to overcome.
I think the answer is rather simple in today's day and age, particularly with college basketball, although I don't agree with it. The decision makers are the big booster that says,
I ain't giving this money.
here's $1 million if you go out and get a quality wing.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, if it's that coach, the $1 million isn't coming your way. But if you go out there and make a change, then the $1 million is coming your way. Like I think that is a large part of the decision making with this. And maybe it was always that, a little bit more behind the scenes from a booster standpoint. But in today's climate, basically all you hear, and we can get into this a little bit with the Butler situation right now, because it seemed like yesterday, and maybe I'm too much in the weeds with Notre Dame basketball, but like there was a lot, I think, of social media smoke around Micah Shrewsbury and Butler yesterday. Today's climate, it's like, oh yeah, I couldn't win there because I didn't have resources. Like that's just the simple answer of like, do you have resources or do you not have resources? Are you willing to sit at the big kids table? Are you not? And then from a do we hire, do we fire, it comes down to, hey, booster 3-4 here, the courtside seats, are they going to commit 6-7 figures to our program or are they not? And they're largely the ones that I think are calling the shots here for, really all of these programs out there. And that's just the sad reality, I think, of where we're at right now in college athletics.
Yeah, it's crazy. Did I not read, though, yesterday in the afternoon that Micah Shrewsbury has said that he's not a candidate at Butler now?
Yeah, Tom Noy, the Notre Dame beat writer for the South Bend Tribune, did have, he had some source statements that said Micah Shrewsbury is returning. So I believe yesterday I saw Chris Holtman came out with a video that he is staying at DePaul. So if you want to look at the candidates that Akeem Gillespie threw out for Butler in the Indianapolis Star, those were 2 of the 4. The other 2 would be Ronald Norred, who again is with the Hawks right now, and then John Gross. We saw Akron lose in round 1 of the tournament there. So if Butler is indeed going to keep it in the family with one of those 4 names, 2 of the 4, I guess nothing official from Shrewsbury announcing he's coming back. And I mean, again, I heard from several people yesterday, like, hey, Shrewsbury to Butler, it's going to happen. What are your thoughts? I was like, oh, wow, this was really turning. And then all of a sudden you had that report from Tom Noy of the South Bend Tribune. So we'll see when the white smoke occurs. And, not that obviously Butler would have any candidates competing for the North Carolina opening. But again, what's the domino effect? I'm always curious about that. Like, okay, Tommy Lloyd goes to Carolina. Who goes to Arizona? Okay, all of a sudden, where is all of this domino leads to that domino leads to that? Like, all of that plays out. Yeah, I remember when Notre Dame hired Micah Shrewsbury a few years ago, the runner-up was Darren DeVries. Well, look how that turned out for Darren DeVries. He then went to West Virginia and now is the Indiana job, and obviously he's making a lot more at Indiana than he would have at Notre Dame.
All right, that's a little bit of a setup for what's happening throughout the rest of the show here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Caleb, silent so far this morning. You got anything to contribute in the opening salvos here? Everything okay? You look like a little
Do you
sleep.
have anything to contribute?
No, and the reason I asked that is
James.
I've talked to Caleb a few times this morning, and it's the 3rd day in a row now, getting up really early for him, and it feels like today might be the day that it's chasing your tail a little bit.
Man, my boy got some juice over there, right?
I misplaced my headphones this morning, so I'm using someone else's.
Okay.
So that's the type
That's
of
what we
morning
got
it is.
going
But
on?
hey,
All right.
I am sad Hubert Davis is gone. It's tough.
Oh, my gosh. All right, let's go to break.
That is a Duke fan.
Let's
for
go
those
to break.
not totally following why he would.
More Caleb Zuver and
Go
Pearls
that
of
way.
Wisdom in a moment on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Gr- Great weather day. Great day to go and visit the Andy Moore campus over there off of Rockville Road in Avon. When I say campus, multiple brands you got to choose from over there. Kia, Volkswagen, Toyota, Nissan. The Toyota brand, if I can entice you from a truck standpoint, how about over 100 new Toyota trucks available for you to purchase today? How about a little hybrid action? Prius, Corolla hybrid, a Camry hybrid. You got to line up some of the most fuel-efficient cars available today, over 50 miles per gallon combined, little city highway action, and just deep inventory. Over 350 new Toyotas available, over 150 pre-owned Toyotas ready for sale. So again, whether it's Camry, Corolla, RAV4, trucks, Andy Moore Toyota has got you covered over there. And that campus in general is a great one-stop shop for whatever you are looking for. Deep inventory, home of the hybrids and the truck center in the state of Indiana. That is the Andy Moore Group campus over there in Avon. Check them out off Rockville Road today.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. The Indiana Pacers returning to the floor at home tonight. They'll host the Los Angeles Lakers, 7 p.m. tip. 6:30 the airtime here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. The injury report right now, Andrew Nembhard, probable. Aaron Nesmith, probable. Pascal Siakam, probable. James Boyd, do you think we'll see that man tonight?
I do think we'll see him tonight. And now I'm just questioning, and I'm looking at the Lakers injury report. They actually don't have their stars listed. So LeBron James, Luka, they should be playing. So real quick,
yeah,
should you cheer for a Pacers victory over LeBron James and the Lakers? Because we know in this country, this land around here, no one likes LeBron.
You can afford to win.
Okay, I'm just
Didn't you say
making
that
sure.
yesterday? You can afford to win, Kevin?
Got 10 to go. Anything more than 3-7, and you're going to sweat. So you got 3 wins. This could be one of your 3 here in the final 10.
All
So,
right.
yes, James Boyd, I think you can cheer. I have a feeling if it gets real dicey at some point, you might have an ailment or two in early April for some of these probable guys that are listed. So, and we should note, I believe Benedict Mathurin off the injury report for the Clippers, and Friday is Benedict Mathurin back inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So, missed 4 games with that toe injury, but looks like he could make his return and play coming up Friday night.
All right, so 93.5, 107.5 The Fan at 6:30 tonight with the pregame. Then Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill have the play-by-play. Of course, Pat Boylan will be in studio and on the sidelines. A reminder, too, JB, that the last time these two teams met, a little over, about almost 3 weeks ago, the Lakers got 44 points in 32 minutes from Luka Doncic.
Best score in the NBA.
Man, oh, man, oh, man. All right. March basketball tournament news right now. We talked about it at the beginning of the show, but if you're just joining us, a 3rd national championship in the NAIA women's basketball. Marion gets a win over Dort last night, 73-61. Madison Bailey, 23 points to lead the way, and that finishes off a run of 18 in a row for the Marion Knights as they win their 3rd national championship. Impressive performance there.
Yeah, anytime you can say you're the best in the country, that is something special, and it just caps a great season for them. And probably a crazy environment there. I figured it would be more like a true road game because of where it was located and where your rival team you're playing. It's in Iowa. You're playing in Iowa school, so that was something.
Yeah. As far as high school basketball is concerned, we get ready for the state finals coming up on Saturday at 10:30 in the morning. You'll be able to listen to all these games here on The Fan. In Class A, it'll be Bar Reeve and Triton. Class 2A, Park Heritage and Westview. Class 3A, that's the evening set, starts at 6 p.m. Who's Cathedral playing for a state championship? Kevin, New Haven?
Yeah, New Haven. First time they've been there from a basketball standpoint. I want to say could be their first state title in school history there. So, they hit a layup late to beat Columbia City in the semi-state game. Great finish there. So, yeah, local flavor, 3A, 4A. Obviously, 4A, Mount Vernon, Crown Point. That's probably the marquee game of the day, although I think that 2A game is a bit underrated. Rematch of the Hall of Fame Classic. Dikembe Shaw, for those that don't know much about Crown Point. Really good player, 6'6", 6'7" guy. And then, of course, Luke Ertl's final high school game.
Well, we were talking about that. Matt Vernon will play Crown Point, and John Herrick is reporting from the IHSAA meetings, and he says one player that basketball fans will be keeping a really close eye on Saturday is the boys basketball state finals this weekend. It is going to be Mount Vernon guard Luke Ertl.
That's because Ertl is a strong candidate to be Mr. Basketball. I'm John Herrick. That award goes to the best boys basketball player in the state every year. Ertl's going to Purdue University next season. He's averaging 24 points and 10 rebounds a game. And Ertl says he knows and is friends with many of the previous Mr. Basketball winners.
Being a part of that club would just be amazing because it's something we all dream about, and it's something that you can say that you won that award for the rest of your life.
His team will face Crown Point for the 4A championship on Saturday. Crown Point beat Mount Vernon back in December. John Herrick, 93, WIBC Mobile News.
All right. Thanks, John. Also, other news in basketball. We talked about UNC firing Hubert Davis. They said they've parted ways. Hubert Davis said he was let go. Either way, semantics. He was let go after a first-round loss and a 1-12 quad one record this past season. That just doesn't work for a lot of folks at North Carolina. Florida is looking to extend Todd Golden for a third straight season. Do you just get a new contract extension every year? And because people might want you, Kevin, just, hey, throw another $1 million on there. Give me another $2 million in NIL. How's that go? It works well for him.
Works very well. Yeah, the agent game is dangerous, and I have a feeling some coaches all around college basketball will flirt enough to get another comma or another zero.
He's taking a page out of the Kurt Signetti playbook. How many
That's a good
raises
call.
have we seen
That is a good call.
from him?
Very earned from Kurt Signetti. I think some of these coaches that might get a comma or a zero in the next few days, few weeks, not as earned, if I must say so.
All right. Well, we're talking about college basketball coaches. Butler continues to search for their next head coach. Read yesterday that Micah Shrewsbury of Notre Dame is not considered a candidate at this point in time. Where does that leave the Bulldogs from what we're hearing on the street, Kevin?
Yeah, again, Akeem Gillespie from the Star listed 4 names. Travis Steele is not one of the 4, but the 4 that I guess are left, if you believe the Micah Shrewsbury report back to Notre Dame, and then Chris Holtman staying at DePaul, that would leave John Gross and Ronald Norred. And there's a question I have of, should Butler go out of the family? Who's the best Butler coach in the last decade?
In the last decade, Chris Holtman, right?
Chris Holtman's out of the family. Should you go there? Or is Butler such a tight-knit group, and we had great success, and our donors and big money makers want to see somebody they know there, blah, blah, blah.
I would like to know how Gordon Hayward factors into all of this decision-making. I know you were hired on. It's kind of a front-facing role, but now you got to do some real work.
Right, and your GM, Gordon Hayward, and your AD both played on those national championship, national runner-up teams. So, that's where you see Norred and Shrewsbury and, John Gross. Obviously, you got to go back a little bit of a ways there. We'll see if there's any white smoke from 49th Street coming up later today.
All right, Major League Baseball news. They had been rumored to be making progress on a deal. Yesterday, it was announced that Pete Crow Armstrong and the Cubs have agreed to a 6-year, $115 million contract. And Frank Thomas is having more beef with the White Sox, James. They've been selling number 35 jerseys with his name on the back. He says he did not authorize that. He is suing the team. This is a team that he's had beef with since he felt their team doctors brought a premature end to his career by misdiagnosing a knee injury back in 2004. Didn't like the way that he was used and portrayed in their historical celebration for all-time great players recently. He and the White Sox just don't get along anymore.
What did I tell you all yesterday? My sports hot take is that if you spent 10 years cheering for a team with a terrible owner, it's time to jump ship. So if you're a White Sox fan, I'll give you a pass. Join another franchise. Get with a competent owner.
Sox and Bulls, both?
Yes. I mean, they have the same owner.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, well, yeah, you know.
Are we opening day today?
Oh, you would know better.
We're
opening night, I
opening
guess.
night.
Yeah. Giants, Yankees.
Is that what it is?
I think that is. Clearly not top of mind for a lot of us in here.
Well, I mean, the Reds are coming up later on this week.
Yeah, Giants,
That's what we're
Yankees on
talking about.
Netflix. There's baseball games on Netflix
Yeah,
now?
isn't Netflix going to use a roster of 50 people to broadcast this game?
It's an Apple TV, kind of the big weekly MLB game, right?
Yeah, but I hadn't heard Netflix. I'm getting old.
I think opening day in earnest tomorrow, but yes, you'll get an opening night here.
I just didn't want to talk about the Yankees.
IU spring football underway tomorrow. Don't think I've ever mentioned that in the history of the show, but that seems to be very relevant. So Kurt Signetti will meet the media tomorrow. I don't think he does much of a spring game. If I remember, he does it Thursday of Little 5 week. Yeah, it is time to play football again in Indiana. And Carb Day announcement, right? Counting Crows, Switchfoot, Jeff, you could be front row. Crowd surfing?
I'll probably be around. I don't know if I'll be. I will go if it comes down to it, and you give me enough Miller Lights at the beginning of the show. I may be the guy that just volunteers to be passed up through the crowd.
Look at that.
Peer pressure works, folks.
Man.
No, did you miss the key word? Did they hear the key word, Caleb? What was the key word at the beginning of that sentence?
Might.
If and might.
Oh, last year, I believe you threw a couple back in the 7 o'clock hour, if I remember
I saw him do a keg stand.
One half. One half a keg. That's what it was, Caleb. All right.
One half a keg. Holy.
I told you.
Well, if we're going to escalate it, let's just escalate it.
Flag the yellow shirts down now to carry you
If
out.
we're going to escalate it, let's go. All right. You've been a bad influence on me, Kevin Bowen. We'll continue.
Can we get a Counting Crows song at some point today, Caleb, just so I can...
We can do it next on the rejoin.
All right, let's get to it.
Get ready for Carb Day here. Shout out to Ridger in our YouTube chat, chiming in early this morning saying, I'm stuck in traffic next to your billboard. Well, I can think of a lot places I'd rather be stuck in traffic than having to stare at that. But I do think the after picture looks decent. So, I don't know, maybe focus on that aspect to it. Thank you to We Grow Hair Indy for providing the after picture. Before and after, you can find that on their website, wegrowhairindy.com. They are the gold standard when it comes to hair restoration. Northwest side, that would be where the traffic jam was located. Pyramids Building number 2 specifically. That's the office for We Grow Hair Indy. And again, they are the gold standard when it comes to hair restoration. Darren Andrews and his staff are ready. Free evaluation, private evaluation, virtual evaluation. All of that is available to you, so contact them today. The best in the business, they just happen to call the 317-HOME. It is wegrowhairindy.com.
To down low, working on Robinson, jumps over Glenn, can't get the shot to fall. Rebound comes down inside to Gary Roosevelt. They had 2 yellow shirts in there. The guy that got the rebound was Carlos Floyd, and here's the slam by Robinson.
Hey, Robinson does run the floor well. Catches the ball well and takes it right to the basket.
I'm amazed at the physique of the 2 tall centers. Isn't that amazing in high school to see that?
Well, one's going to IU. That, of course, is Alan Henderson. Robinson's going to Purdue. So this confrontation you're seeing tonight will continue for the next 4 years.
Quite the 2 names right there. Big Dog, Glenn Robinson, and Alan Henderson in the 91 state championship game. Gary Roosevelt won that one. Big Dog at 22. It's funny, we were talking to Bruce Weber about him yesterday, saying when Matt Painter was a player at Purdue, he told Big Dog, just because I don't pass it to you early in the possession doesn't mean I'm not coming back to you. I know full well where the ball needs to go. 2 great talents, and that's what this weekend is all about over at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. We will crown 4 state champions over there. Again, Triton and Bar Reeve in 1A. The 2A game, Park Heritage and Westview, you have 5 total losses in this game, all to 4A opponents. So really, really good matchup there with the 2A schools in Park Heritage and Westview. Again, Cathedral, a big comeback as they upset Silver Creek, the number 1 team in 3A during the semi-state championship last Saturday. They will take on New Haven. And then the nightcap, it will be Luke Ertl on his way to Purdue and Mount Vernon, as they had to execute a little bit, but come back with him in foul trouble as well. They will take on Crown Point, who did beat them earlier this season in Newcastle. Crown Point just 1 loss on the year. So again, this is state championship week here for the boys basketball tournament. Nothing compares to attending an IHSA state tournament game in person. Head to ihsa.org today for ticket info.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
There you go. Coming your way on Carb Day.
Yep,
2026.
Set his beer down.
We'll be graduating to a 5th by the end of the show. 3rd hour, I'll just be chugging it back.
I think it's honestly like, what is it, like muscle milk or something?
You have your little jug of beer over there. You have whatever little trendy microbrew you're going to have, and I'll stick to my protein drink. How's that?
Fair enough.
But and everybody will be happy
James
that way.
Boyd, big drinker here.
Yeah, I was going to say you and your jugs of beer.
Trendy microbrew. I'm not sure if I follow Carb Day. I think you're just throwing back to light beers.
Well,
right?
I was just talking about you in general, whatever it is you want to do.
Got it.
So, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, have we ever had better situations than beers with Bowen? I mean, that's pretty good stuff right there.
Beers with
Bowen.
Bowen.
When's the next
That sounds
beers
like
with Bowen?
A
coming?
shirt that should be sold at the shop.
Yeah, we got to clear that with the higher ups. We should start those back up.
Yeah, I think I'll bring that up maybe right after May. We got the golf tournament coming up. We got May coming up. We got the golf tournament coming up. We got the Final Four happening.
Today would be pretty good Carb Day weather, would it not?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Would you be rocking the T-shirt already and eschewing a jacket, or how would that be?
I think knowing what's coming later in the day, I think you could handle the T-shirt for the first couple hours, and high of 70 today looks awesome.
See, it's a good day to go sign up for the Fan Golf Invitational 2026 presented by Franciscan Health. It'll be April 30th down at Legends Golf Club. Found out yesterday we're going to have once again some Mizuno golf clubs to give away. You into that?
I love me some Mizuno action here.
Man,
cannot wait to dust
on.
them off for the year.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then we've got, I think Tucker Barnhart's getting a foursome together. Last I heard, he's coming out. Don Fisher is going to be there. Eddie White from the Pacers is going to be around. We'll have some different folks from Butler coming by, maybe even the new head coach when it's all said and done. And we're still building the roster out from there.
So
How about
who's
that?
who?
Yeah. I have to ask our guests coming up. We're going to have a little get-together at Total Wine on the Friday before the Final Four. Brian Cardinal, former Purdue player, and Alan Henderson, former IU player, are going to hang out together for a while then, too. We've been very busy here, Kevin. We got a lot going on right now.
It's a busy time of year.
Beers with Bowen could be coming down the road. But anyway, go to 1075thefan.com and you can register for your spot today or your foursome, twosome, whatever it is. We don't care. That's the way to go do it. But you can bet on one-of-a-kind experiences while you're there. Got the free cancer screenings available on site, courtesy of the Franciscan Health Cancer Center. We'll all be there. Caleb, you're even going to show up and be out there, right?
I'm planning on showing up to the fan golf outing, especially to hang out with y'all, and then also Carb Day, man. Like this will be my first one as a non-Indiana resident, so I am looking forward to it, and can't wait to take it all in and experience it for the first time.
You have not made your way to the Snake Pit at this point in time, then?
Have not. So this will be the first.
Kevin,
I know.
When do you think peak Snake Pit viewing will be available? An hour or two into the concert?
Well, yeah. I mean, to me, it's probably a little bit more race day for Snake Pit action, but
maybe it starts on Carb Day.
That
just goes
was
right
a
on
sight
through.
to see, honestly. As someone who went to their first 500 last year, Caleb, I will not warn you of anything you might see over there, but boy, that was a lot.
Yeah, you don't hide your eyes, you open your eyes extra wide, right?
Man, I feel like I see life a lot differently after that.
The Sweet 16 team that returns all 5 players from last season. Their top 5 scorers all played for them last season. There's only one. Can you name them?
Ooh.
All right, now let me look at the bracket.
I know. I got to check out the bracket again here.
Ooh, you got me on.
Top 5 scores this year were all playing for them last year.
Michigan State?
Jeff, got a guess?
Oh, God dang it.
My first thought was Michigan. I am going to go. Got too many freshmen. I'm thinking of freshmen that are already. I don't know. Is it?
I'm gonna get St. John's over here.
Iowa State, maybe?
James Boyd.
Nice.
How about that? Now, on the flip, the team with their top 5 scores, none of them on last year's team.
None of them?
None of
Boy. Man.
I'm gonna guess Arkansas.
Duke.
I'm going to say Michigan.
James Boyd. How about that? Wow. Oh, my gosh. This man should be on Sports Jeopardy.
I'm telling you. Remember Stump the Schwab? Did you remember that show?
Oh, yeah. That was a great watch for me back in the day.
Howie Schwab.
That's kind of wild, James, when you think about it. They made the Sweet 16 last year. Michigan. Dusty May's first season. And, they got a freshman, Trey McKinney. We obviously have seen Yaxel transferring in, I think UAB, if I remember correctly, for him. Elliot Cadeau coming from North Carolina. Kind of wild that, You have, I would not have guessed that right away on that. So Michigan State, they have been a little bit more of not the most portal-hungry team, really, with Izzo. I still haven't seen one of those graphics. I feel like we usually see them around the Sweet 16 where, like, they list the starting lineups of where they started their college careers, and it is kind of interesting. Obviously, from a Purdue standpoint, 4 of the 5? Clough would be the one. Oscar Clough would be the one here. But, yeah, I found that interesting when I heard that yesterday.
So here's a question I was thinking about as we get closer to the Sweet 16, and obviously the college basketball landscape has changed, but at what point do you think we in our space complain too much about the differences of how the sports are now? For example, like, I feel like a lot of the conversation these days is like, oh man, there's no Cinderellas and NIL this, NIL that, but like, do you still not get some of that March Madness feeling? Or how do you all feel about just the changing landscape? Because in my mind, I'm always like, all right, maybe I've complained enough. I hear my mom in my ear saying, boy, just suck it up. And at some point, I'm like, can I just enjoy the sport? And I feel like I have still, if I change my perspective a little bit.
I think once the ball gets tipped up and we just start watching a game, it's basketball, right? At that point in time?
Yeah.
And then we get back to bitching and complaining when it's over with, depending on how things turned out. That's kind of what we do, isn't it, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, what's the alternative? Is the alternative not to watch? Well, I don't think I want to do that. But, like, if you presented the two with me, do I wish there were a few more guardrails? Do I wish you had a little bit more team continuity? And, like, I just mentioned IU football spring is about ready to start. Like, if you asked an average IU football fan right now, name 5 players on your team for next year, do you think they could do it?
I mean,
everybody wants to say Fernando and Omar Cooper
right,
and Surratt. They're gone.
And again, that's the climate. Like
right.
that. Yeah. And I think that's a little bit of the bummer aspect to it. It's, I feel like historically you see the poster. Scotty's got one in his office of the IU basketball roster, the floating heads, and it's like every year you look at it and it's like, wait, none of those were on the poster last year.
Right.
And this year is going to be the same thing. Like, I think that's a little bit of a bummer. Now, again, when the ball is tipped, to use Jeff's one shining moment lyric, obviously people are still watching. And Purdue fans, they don't have it as much, I guess, if you want to live it from a local standpoint. But, yeah, I'm kind of in this weird, like, fan predicament. Maybe I'll ask you guys for some advice right now. Like, okay, Notre Dame, Micah Shrewsbury, rumored to be a candidate of Butler, comes out last night. According to the South Bend Tribune, he's not a candidate. Should I want Micah Shrewsbury to take the Butler job?
Does it count that I don't want Micah Shrewsbury to take the Butler job?
So you don't think he's a good coach? Is that what you're saying? That
not a coach I want around. I've not been overly impressed at Notre Dame.
So would you want him to take that job so you can get an upgrade at Notre Dame?
Yes, that's
Notre
what he's saying.
So that's where I find myself torn as a fan right now. It comes out in the reporting last night that Notre Dame, one of their rotational players, made $150,000 at Notre Dame last year. And he has been offered a $1 million rotational spot at another school. When you hear the word Notre Dame, you don't think of financial issues, correct?
Right.
And we're talking here, this dude's being offered 10 times the amount of money he just made last year. And Notre Dame can't pony that up? Like, do they just not care about basketball? And then, then how do I view Micah Shrewsbury? He hasn't had a ranked win in 3 years. Notre Dame has had largely an awful record. Now, again, they've had injuries. I'm probably in the 2% of the fan base that doesn't want him fired. I don't really know why, to be honest with you. I weirdly think, like, let's just see this out. He's had bad injury luck, all of it. But then I sit there and look at the finances, and I'm like, how are you expected to compete at a high level when your rotational player is getting offered 10 times the amount of money to go play somewhere else? Like, do you have money or do you not?
Or does all the money just go to football and whatever is left over to give to basketball?
And then from
kind of what it sounds like.
An athletic program, how do you divide that up? I'm very, like, conflicted, I guess, James. And I don't know if maybe this gets back to what you brought up a few minutes ago, but it's just like, I don't really know how to react as a fan right now of, like, would anybody succeed in today's climate with Notre Dame's budget consideration from a basketball standpoint? Is there any analogy to Butler? I mean, what did we just hear from Thad Matta in a lot of these press conferences? What did we hear from fellow Big East coaches? Well, Butler's not able to sit at the same table as other Big East teams. I really fight that as a fan right now of, like, how can you critically evaluate the situation when simply it seems to come down to, like, do you have money or do you not? Now, if you have money, i.e. the school in Bloomington, and you continue to lose, that's obviously not good at all. That's where I'm torn.
Well, and you go back to what Dan Hurley said about the state of the Butler program back in February and talking about how they need more resources. Kevin, do you feel like, if Micah Shrewsbury leaves Notre Dame for Butler, are you asking that question because do you feel like it would be kind of like, man, Notre Dame is not even, basketball is not even as good of a job as the Butler job. And we're in the ACC. We have history. I know Butler has a lot of history too, but is that kind of what you're scared of as well? Like if he left for that job in the state and feeling like, man, we're lower on the pecking order.
Yeah, that is a thought. Like, is it viewed as a dark day for Notre Dame basketball?
Right.
Or is Micah Shrewsbury looking at it and saying, boy, I'm Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen with the Colts for this year. Like, the seat is scorching hot. I need to get ahead of the game here. And maybe I'm more of whatever. Butler, he obviously has history there. He went to high school here in Indianapolis. There are plenty of reasons for him to have some attraction there. And a lot of this gets back to the Hubert Davis thing to lead off the show with are there North Carolina boosters that are saying, I have $1 million ready to donate to the program? It will come if Hubert Davis is not the head coach.
I think there's a lot of that, too. One other little nugget about that situation, Bubba Cunningham, the current athletic director, the guy responsible for Bill Belichick in a lot of ways, he's going to be elevated to like a special position within North Carolina, and a brand new guy is coming in to run day-to-day operations as the athletic director on June 1st. And it could be that guy just wants to bring in his own guy and wants a clean break and wants to get going forward, in addition to money people that are saying, yeah, we really wouldn't mind. Because what I've heard is there are a few hardcores at North Carolina that want Hubert Davis gone, and there's a bunch of other people we like Hubert. I guess it'd be okay if he stayed, but I guess it'd be okay if he left too. You put all that together, and there just was no runway for him.
Like, going back to the Butler combo, was this 1,000% Thad Matta deciding to hang it up? Or were there some Butler alums that said, look, this is not working? I hear Thad's comments. He does not sound like a man that is ready to fully embrace this new era of college basketball, which, if I can raise my hand, I don't blame him. If I accomplish what Thad Matta has in my career, I'm probably not going to put up with it either. But again, if you are saying, hey, I'm not ready to donate to whatever, this collective, that collective, but if you're going to make a change here, I might be a little bit more open-minded to that.
To the point about that, I think what's difficult is that even when you do have success early, if it isn't sustained right away, you're kind of always on the hot seat, it feels like. Because one, like, let's say you have a good season and you have some players that come to you, you develop it a little bit, they work out, and then it's like, all right, are you going to be back next year? I know we just had a great thing going, but, do you still love me? And that sort of thing. And I do think that's a big factor when other school can just always swoop in and say, here's a bigger check.
Now,
and I'm not sure that's always the case. North Carolina of the world, I mean, they can pay for anybody with the right backing. But Butler, I do think that's probably a conversation you have to have, even if you do have some success.
Yeah, the other thing about Hubert Davis, too, he was 1-12 against Quad 1 teams this year. But career, he was 23-38 against Quad 1 teams. That's not North Carolina.
Yeah.
That's not what the standard is there. So I like Hubert Davis. I think he probably would have been okay had he stayed there. But his record shows that he had not had great success against the better teams
and that's the thing.
In college basketball.
You just said it there, Jeff. He was okay.
That's not UNC.
That ain't going to cut it.
But he's a family guy, and everybody loved him, and that's probably why he made it for as deep as he did.
We're going to love you enough to pay this buyout.
Thank you to Lev for sending this. We asked, or I guess I asked it out loud, that graphic you see kind of thrown around this time of year, where the starting five of each of the Sweet 16 teams, where did they begin their college careers? Again, Michigan State, all five. Purdue, 4. Duke, 4. Houston, 4. Arizona and Alabama also have 4. So the Sweet 16 teams, 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 6 of the 16 have 4 or 5 of their starters that all began their career. It is kind of funny to look at the Purdue logo and it pops up on another team, and that would be Cam Heide tomorrow night. Is Sean Miller of Cam Heide stand in front of the room and break down Purdue film?
Had a nice shot there last weekend.
Give a presentation just on tendencies for each player. I like it.
I'm not going to lie. I feel like that is always the easiest story to do when you're in the media is when the former player faces the former team or vice versa. Even Benedict Mathurin, like he's been gone for a while now, but when he comes back here, that's a little bit different because he's coming back to the team that drafted him and it's still in the same season. But I still think that there probably will be a lot of questions about, wait, Benedict Mathurin, did you give him any like tips on plays? And it's like, well, it's game 73 of whatever season.
Yeah, like those assistant coaches for the Clippers have been studying Pacers. They know the Pacers just as good as Mathurin.
Exactly.
I'm sure they've got the advanced scouts all over the Pacers at this point in time. You just write them down as, hey, keep this game close in the fourth quarter. They don't want to win this game. We'll just move on.
Yeah, the Cam Heidi revenge game. And I said that as a joke yesterday, and someone was like, why would he be mad? I'm like, no, it's not a serious thing. But it's just funny to think about, like, that could be some sort of motivation, if anything, for that matchup.
Last thing on your overall point there, Kevin, I go back to a stat that we talked about, I think, a week ago. And, Caleb, I don't know if you were here. Maybe I'll ask you, and for people who haven't heard this, out of all the Power 4 schools, the Power 4 conferences, how many players total have played all 4 years at their current school if they're a senior now?
I'll guess 7.
22.
Undersold it. I played the game wrong there. I got to oversell it so then you can like.
But 7, 22,
I
it's not.
undersold it too much. That was bad by
When you're
me.
talking about 15 guys over what, about 64, give or take, teams, that's a crazy number, 22, Kevin. That's nuts in today's world.
Yeah, Jordan Cornette, by the way, going to join us coming up 9 o'clock. He was on the Westwood One call of Purdue beating Miami on Sunday. I always enjoy his thoughts, and I think, honestly, he's got a lot of relevance to today's topic, given that he played at Notre Dame and obviously, very close to the Butler program as well with his late great brother. So Jordan Cornette going to join us here coming up at 9 today.
All right, we'll talk about a lot of those things as well. And where are you at with Illinois, man? How's the program doing over there, bud? You feeling good?
I feel good. I mean, they're a really good team this year, and I don't say that just because I'm wearing the hoodie, but they have a chance to, I really believe, get to a Final Four. So it'll be tough to knock off Houston this week, but I'm excited for it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to these games. And like I said, I know we talked a lot yesterday about Cinderella being dead, but at the same time, you're looking at the heavyweights of college basketball going at it right now.
Yeah, I was going to ask James, like, this feels like a big Brad Underwood moment. I feel like he needs this big tournament win to beat Kelvin Sampson in Houston. I think would be like really, really important for him and kind of how people remember kind of his tenure, because he's done a great job building this program back, and now it's like time to take that next step, right?
Absolutely. I believe they've only been to the Sweet 16 twice since the 05 run to the national championship. So it lets you know.
Gosh, that's crazy.
That is nuts to think about. But on top of that, that's one of the knocks on Underwood is like, okay, well, you built them back up. They've got the most, I think, Big Ten wins of the 2020s and, regular season play and all of that. But can you go further in March? So got an opportunity in front of you, but Houston will certainly not lay down because those dudes can play, and they're there, I feel like, at the end every year.
239-1070 is the number to call in, or just text us, 239-1070, the Fan text line. We'll read some of those as we go along throughout the day as well. You're listening to the Fan Morning Show, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Yes, indeed. We've got the Sweet 16 coming up for college basketball, and already the coaching carousel. If you think about a carousel, right, you think about a slow-moving kids ride where the little horsies are going up and down, and maybe there's one little elephant that your little boy likes to get on or something like that. Right now, that carousel, it's blown a gasket, man. It's just spinning wildly out there. Who knows who's going to end up where? We're going to leave a job for multi-millions to go to another job worth multi-millions. I heard this morning that Will Wade is rumored to go back to LSU at this point in time.
I did see that as well, yeah.
And then you got Kansas. It could be Bill Self is making rumblings about maybe I don't feel well enough to do this job. He'll make a decision
sounds like
later.
A serious thing,
right? He's had all kinds of health issues, and North Carolina's parting way with one of their family members, and Hubert Davis, and now down at Miami, they're talking about giving Todd Golden an extension for the third year in a row. Florida, for the third year in a row.
So I know Kevin made this remark earlier about certain coaches will get a raise with a couple extra zeros they haven't earned. Boy, once in my life, I would love to experience that.
Right?
I mean,
sounds like a good life, doesn't it?
Yeah, the market changes, and all of a sudden, I'm getting a raise just because I, made it to the NCAA tournament in year 3 or whatever the case may be for my resume. But that's the reality of what we're dealing with. But
Golden's put some gold in his pocket, though. He's playing without his money.
He won a national championship last year, and they had a really good team this year as well. But as someone who is still, I would say I'm still relatively new to the college basketball landscape as far as just how things work and how they've worked in the past. What do you think is a job that's too big to not consider North Carolina? I think a lot of that conversation came up with Curt Cignetti. Not this past season, but like after that first year at IU, it's like, okay, well, how much do they have to pay to make sure he stays at IU? Because IU isn't Penn State, it isn't Alabama, it isn't whatever. But what are the isn't schools on that list?
Yeah, it's funny. I saw one of the names. It was Tommy Lloyd last night.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of thinking to myself, man, isn't Arizona a great job? I mean, first off, if you want to play the geography game, I'm not too worried about UCLA and USC. I think I could have a pretty good footprint in the LA area or Southern California area,
right,
from a recruiting standpoint. If you want to stretch it up a little bit more, you got to go all the way up to Gonzaga, really to have a program you're worried about.
Right.
Maybe being in the Big 12 geographically, it's not like super ideal, but, from a basketball standpoint, it's a great conference. To me, it's kind of like, wouldn't you be pretty content there? I mean, financially, I guess I'd have to look at dollars and cents a little bit. But, when you're in North Carolina, right there in your own backyard, you got a whole lot of competition from obviously a Duke standpoint there. So
yeah,
that was a name when I saw that mentioned. Obviously, I think Tommy Lloyd's a great coach. But I'm like, isn't Arizona pretty close to being on that same level, present day at least? I mean, and that's a credit to Tommy Lloyd, by the way.
And they've got history there at Arizona, too.
Right. I don't want to act like that Carolina history, but still, they've got enough that I think.
Yeah.
And clearly from, not that they've been NIL crazy, but they've done enough. And Tommy Lloyd's done a nice job with the international pipeline, which I think kind of dates back to his Gonzaga days. But when I saw that news last night, I thought to myself, you know what? If Purdue advances and Tommy Lloyd's got to field a few more questions about that with Arizona, they're potentially in the Elite Eight, might be good news for the Boilers.
Here's another thing that's crazy, too, and I chalk this up more to fans maybe being hopeful than anything real to it. But there's a group of I saw a group of online folks that are Kentucky fans are like, bring Calipari back. Get rid of Pope. Let's bring Calipari back. Would anything shock you at this point? You smile and you drop your head, James. But at the end of the day, would you go, oh, man, I never saw that one coming? Or would you go, well, that's college basketball in 2025?
Honestly, I dropped my head, but I dropped my head probably because
I don't think Cal would go back.
I can't necessarily rule it out, but yeah, that will be a wild one for sure.
Yeah, Caleb brings up like Dusty May's name with North Carolina. I mean, don't you have a pretty good thing going at Michigan financially? You seem to be in a pretty healthy state. I mean, look at what he was able to do from a portal standpoint. And I think you got to ask yourself as a coach too: do you want to be sitting on that front burner? And when you're out of Carolina, or you're out of Kentucky, or when you're at an Indiana, you're on the front burner. And that thing's going to get hotter much quicker than it is at other stops. And I get some people I'd say, well, if you're at a football school, you're not going to be getting the major NIL money, this and that. Okay, I can listen to that conversation a little bit, but I don't know. There's something to do with I'm pretty content with my situation. Financially, we got a good thing going. I don't need to be, signing every baby and, kissing every grandma when I go out to get coffee in the morning.
Well, you look at someone like Curt Cignetti, 2 years at IU, obviously had a tremendous first year, makes the college football playoff, wins it all in the second year, is making as much or more money than anybody else out there, got a nice little setup going on down in Bloomington. His family's been there for a couple of years now, and he's laid the foundation for more success in the future. A guy like that, where else does he want to go at this point in time?
Yeah, I mean, these are all valid questions, but I also just wonder how much coaches are crazy and they care about being competitive, which is why they're in that field. And does any part of you say it's North Carolina? Like, can I not look at that? I mean, let's be honest. That helps them as a brand. It's a school that Michael Jordan went to.
It's funny. I was telling you all the things they were talking about at the Charlotte radio station this morning. You brought up Gordon Hayward at Butler and what his role is going to be there. He was on a podcast yesterday, and the guys down there were talking about the fact that he said, who would be the perfect guy there?
Brad Stevens.
It's Brad Stevens. He'd be absolutely the perfect guy for North Carolina. And then the logical part of your brain goes, the dude's making millions of dollars to run one of the most storied franchises in all of sports. And
they're good.
He's got an NBA championship there. They're on the way towards competing for another one.
Yeah.
And that core looks like they're going to be there for a while. And he's making a ton of money. And he doesn't have to get on airplanes every 3 days. And he doesn't have to prepare scouting reports. And he doesn't have to recruit kids and make sure that they're getting paid enough money. Would he want to do that in today's world?
Yeah, the time commitment. And I've talked to a few coaches about that and just the changing landscape. And boy, it's just a lot. Obviously, when you're a college coach, you're not going to have the same sort of schedule as a Rick Carlisle in the NBA, which is more set, and you have contracts people sign, and they can't just up and leave after every year. It's a year-round thing, and now it's something you have to monitor so much. I mean, if you don't play a guy for a couple of games because they're being, a poor participant in practice or whatever, you have to worry about, okay, in a month from now, is he going to be thinking about leaving here? Like, those are the conversations that you have to have. And I think that's why it makes it so fascinating when we look at the teams that are able to turn it around or build it up in 1 year, like a Michigan, and the teams that try to do that at Indiana, like with Darren DeVries, and it just doesn't work out like that. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying like they have behavioral issues at IU. All those guys seem like great young men. But, boy, when you're able to turn around quickly, you're a genius, you're a god, you're all these things. When you're not able to do that, it's like, well, should you still be here? So, it's a tough landscape for sure.
So let me ask you something, Kevin, because you're more familiar with how the whole thing works there, and I think I am too. But you take a look at Butler, who's looking for a brand new head coach now, and you look at the Big East, which is as competitive as anybody. They got two teams in the final in the Sweet 16, right? They got St. John's and UConn. Who St. John's is coached by Rick Pitino now. I think we take them legitimately seriously.
Oh, absolutely.
Between the coach and the players and what they've done. UConn, obviously, with Danny Hurley, has been tremendous. What kind of coach realistically do you get at Butler that is going to be able to, at some point, at least every few years, compete with the UConns and the St. John's of the Big East?
Well, I think that's a hard question because Butler and St. John's or Butler and St. John's or Butler and UConn, they're just shopping in different stores.
Right, and that's my question, okay, if you're looking at head coaches, wouldn't it be a guy like a Chris Holtmann who had some success here the last time he was here?
Well, again, is it just in the family? Or
I don't know.
Would it be healthy for Butler to have someone out of the family walk in there and say, if we're serious about that, not to the level of Curt Cignetti, and walking into Bloomington, but kind of like that. If we're going to be serious about playing in the Big East, then we need to strap up. We need to make sure that financially we are doing things at a much different level than we currently are. And is that possible? And would that person be looked at cross-eyed? Does that person have the clout to do that? I'm sure Curt Cignetti, you imagine some of the eye rolls that he probably got from people,
I rolled my eyes so hard they almost went to the floor.
Within that athletic department, can you imagine Cignetti walking into your office saying all the stuff that he did and then walking out and then what you're gossiping about behind closed doors?
Yeah.
After he walks out, and then obviously he got the last laugh. So I think Butler's at a big crossroads, not just more from a head coaching standpoint, more from again, what is our financial commitment to this university's basketball program in regards to the Big East? Because UConn and St. John's, they're going to St. Elmo every night. They're not going to, Wendy's.
Although I did
They might go to Harry and
love
Izzy's by choice, though.
I'd rather go to Wendy's, to be honest.
I was going to say, I ain't going that far, but I love me a Wendy's 4 for $4 back in high school.
I'm telling you.
That didn't even exist still?
I'm not getting paid for this. I'm just telling you, Harry and Izzy's.
Steak and Shake do the $3.99 meals. I used to love those.
I mean, those were the days, Kevin.
Oh.
I'm telling you, much more relaxed atmosphere at Harry and Izzy's. No stuffiness and the same quality, great food. I'll take Harry and Izzy's over St. Elmo's anytime.
James, Anthony Richardson throwing the football yesterday. Did I see that?
You did see that. He posted.
Was that a Colts shirt he had on, or was that a Florida Gators?
You know what? I got to go back and look at it and slow it down. I didn't analyze the tape as much as the people in my mentions yesterday. Boy, social media can be a lot. You post a 10-second clip of him making a very routine throw. People were telling me it's the greatest throw ever and it's the worst throw ever. It's like, boy, the conversation has changed a little bit. But yeah, from what I understand, he still wants a trade, and he's just kind of out there, and he's getting back to playing football. He did have this caption that I kind of was like, He has one day or day one with a question mark. That was one of his captions. And I was thinking to myself, all right, is that one of those things where you're still believing in yourself? Or are you saying some fans were like, what does he mean by day one? Like, is that week one? And I'm like, I don't want to go that far. He's not. I don't think that there's a realistic path for Anthony to be the starting quarterback here in Indianapolis again. We can actually probably get into that a little bit more.
Here's the question.
But one thing I want to finish on as far as Anthony, at least he's back out there and throwing in some capacity. I know he did that for the Colts, but the question most teams probably have is can you play football? And I'm not saying at a high level, just can you play it? Can you see well enough to play it? Because the throws he made in that video were the same ones we saw in practice.
So, a question for both you guys. If he's not traded by then, does Anthony Richardson take part in OTAs?
Yeah, first off, analyzing captions of younger people, you might as well sign me up for another hair transplant. I mean, there's no chance in hell I'm going to act.
We haven't reached the stage of Anthony Richardson changed his profile picture to
oh my gosh,
whatever. He removed this person from his bio.
Removed all Colts.
Hey, Caleb knows what I'm talking about. This, especially at the college world, it's even crazier.
So yesterday, the big news was one of the Notre Dame transfers. They had two kids transfer yesterday from their basketball program. One of them followed Butler's basketball program immediately. What do you read into it?
I'll one up you. So I know we're just talking about Hubert Davis. His son is on the team. He posted something yesterday of him and a picture of him and his dad, and he took the North Carolina out of his jersey, photoshopped it out. It's just, I'm not, and I'm a young person, and I'm even come on, y'all.
Parenting teenagers, parenting early college age. As far as Richardson, I would assume from the Richardson camp, you would want to be with an organization by mid-April. You don't want to miss any sort of springtime, wherever you're at, whether you're here or whether certainly you're elsewhere. You got to learn a playbook. I think for a new quarterback, phase 1 and phase 2 of the offseason program is really important, even before you get to OTAs. OTAs, again, just to clarify, that's the actual 11-on-11 period of the spring. So that is kind of my next question is, okay, March 25th. The Colts start, their offseason program, James? It's April 20th something, whatever that Monday is.
Yeah.
So that's 3.5 weeks if I'm looking at my calendar correctly here. Okay, so 3.5 weeks. That's kind of where I'm at of all right.
Just before the draft.
Right. Now, again, there's part of me in the draft that's are there any teams out there that are hey, if we don't find the quarterback we kind of are intrigued by in round 4, then we'll make a move for Richardson post-draft. You do see that first week of May, you do kind of see some activity around the league. Hey, we went in the draft thinking we were going to get said position. The draft board didn't play out in that manner. Now let's go back and get, didn't the Colts sign Nick Foles, I think it was, in a May period at some point here? I don't know if that's maybe the best analogy. The Colts have signed some veteran safeties definitely in that May time period. So that's kind of where I'm at with Richardson. I would assume the Colts would want a draft pick this year for him. They don't have a ton of draft picks. I mean, I guess they do, but it's more in day 3. But I don't know. Is there any part of the Colts saying, hey, if we're going to trade him, why don't we put parameters on the pick? And why don't we say it's a 2027 draft pick? And if Richardson goes to Minnesota or New Orleans and he starts 8 games, that pick now climbs up to a 4th rounder. Versus if he doesn't meet that playing time threshold, it becomes a 5th rounder. And again, I'm just kind of throwing out numbers there.
All right, we will keep an eye on the Anthony Richardson. I guess it's the watch. We'll just call it an Anthony Richardson watch.
He also posted basketball highlights on his page.
I was going to say something about that, James, right before. It was
he's just an athlete
before
is what
those
he is.
two.
We knew that.
Yeah, and honestly, Caleb, my first reaction, maybe I'm overthinking this, is just why?
Right.
Like, you want to be taken seriously, especially at this stage of your career. That's probably not the best look. I'm sure guys are playing basketball, pick up basketball, but
we've seen worse things on guys' social media.
That is true. Puka Nacua is somebody who's in a little hot water right now. So I guess Anthony Richardson, from that perspective, is very pristine.
Speaking of quarterbacks, does Dan Orlovsky hate Fernando Mendoza?
Dude.
Sounds like it.
I mean, that was egregious
Or is
yesterday.
it the fact that the guy he's pushing is also a client of an organization he's connected with,
So
the CAA,
I didn't
too.
consume all the content, so feel free to add to this. He appeared on the Pat McAfee show yesterday.
Yeah.
He said something to the effect of he texted, a dozen NFL people saying Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in this draft class, and he said only 2 people responded with disagree. Is that correct?
Yeah, and
it might be the only 2 people that responded.
I was going to say the joke that I got on social media was like the other 15 GMs just didn't respond at all.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's like
I
me
think
texting girls in college.
Hey, shoot, KB.
Amen, man.
I think you've done pretty well for yourself.
Backwards K ain't getting you anywhere, right?
Exactly.
Come on now.
Yeah, but you got the ultimate prize, man.
Oh,
You're good.
the ultimate prize. Delayed gratification, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what
There
Marcus
you go.
Freeman always says?
Shout out, Maddie. But in all seriousness, when I look at what, I don't know, like, how would I describe it? Like, the way he talked about Fernando Mendoza, and he questioned his ability to play in big games to an extent, because they were going back and forth, and Pat's like, okay, well, in these big games, he played so well. And he's like, he legitimately asked the question, what big games? And Darius Butler had to scream off screen, the college football playoffs. Like, if we get to a point, and if I ever get to this point, please just boot me off the air, where I dismiss the biggest part of the season and try to nitpick, like, what's a big game, when literally everyone's trying to hoist that trophy at the end. What are we doing? I mean, you can say you have Ty Simpson number 1, but keep it to, like, football things. Don't try to.
You think he's lying about the NFL people and how many people texted him back?
I think it's
don't
good
know.
for him to have a take like that, and he's going to the wall with it. That's what I think.
Like, I don't want to put him in Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless category, right? I mean, not that I consume everything Dan Orlovsky's saying,
But it feels a little bit of that ilk.
It does.
Yeah.
Like, when I saw it and when I, read a little bit about it. But, look, you can have some questions about whatever. Mendoza being a slam dunk. I thought it was interesting in the combine when Dane Brugler joined us, James. He mentioned if Arch Manning was in this draft class. And Dane does not strike me as anybody hot takey.
No.
Like, we would be having a real conversation about who would go 1, which, again, surprises some people, given, how Arch Manning played football last year, maybe not given his last name. But, yeah, the whole – I not that I watch every Alabama game, but Ty Simpson over Fernando Mendoza? That just seems so idiotic.
And then he posted, I'll say this real quick, and I'm going to get to the check down, but then he posted this thing, kindness is free, some, like, sign you would see in a floral shop or something.
Is this Hubert Davis's son?
And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, you did this to yourself. Like, I mean, I've been in that position where I never want to be the main character on social media, because that means you said something very stupid and everyone's piling onto you. But you earned it. So stand on it. Don't do the whole, everyone's being mean to me thing after you say something really dumb.
That's not, and I will just say, that's not the first time he's pulled that move.
I'm like,
so
man,
it's a pattern.
Crocodile tears, baby. I ain't falling for it.
All right, let's get to the check down.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We'll start with the NBA. The Indiana Pacers, fresh off snapping that losing streak, James. Back at home tonight to take on the Lakers over at the Fieldhouse. 7 o'clock tip. 6:30 airtime at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Andrew Nemhart, Aaron Neesmith, Pascal Siakam, Obi Toppin. What do they have in common for tonight's game, James Boyd?
They're all probable, right?
They're all probable to play in that game tonight. The Lakers injury report, questionable for Adou-Thiero, Rui Hachimura, and Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is doubtful. The other two questionable.
Hey, as long as LeBron James and Luka Doncic are playing, I think a lot of probably Lakers transplants will be at Gamer Fieldhouse, but a chance to get another win. Push it to 2. Spoil the party for old man James.
So Luka and LeBron are good. They didn't golf too much in Indy yesterday?
Not yesterday. Is this the last time we ever see LeBron James at the Fieldhouse?
Certainly a question. I guess maybe more from a playing standpoint. But, as James pointed out yesterday, LeBron strikes me as an individual that probably will want to announce said retirement and maybe go on a little bit of a tour here. So
exactly. The gift that the Pacers give him next year during his final run will be great. And by the gift, I mean nothing. Could you imagine?
Purdue getting ready for the Sweet 16. That comes your way tomorrow against Texas. They'll be in San Jose. And Matt Painter has been talking about his team and what they've been doing lately, and a lot of discussion around Fletcher Lawyer. And, someone was talking to a J&B about this last night. It was Tom Crean. I was listening to that conversation, and they were saying that Fletcher Lawyer is not the best defender one-on-one, but he plays so well within the team game and gets people to where they need to be that what he does on defense has lifted Purdue's overall ability to defend the basket, which I thought was a very fascinating take.
Yeah, he took it personal. And again, we're not asking you to be, Big Ten all defense, but have some pride in it, communicate, and it's worked out well for them. I think their defense has been a lot different than what we've seen earlier this year.
All right, so that comes your way 7:10 Thursday from San Jose. It'll be Texas and Purdue in the Sweet 16. Marion Knights, they claimed their first NAIA women's basketball championship since 2017. They beat Dort 73-61. Anybody want to take a shot, Caleb, at the nickname for Dort?
I have no clue. I got nothing.
James?
The Dort Dalmatians.
Close?
They're losers last night. That's all I
know. Got a big hat with an L
like
on the front.
people's elbow from The Rock back in the day.
They defeated the Dort Defenders 73-61. Madison Bailey led the Knights with 23 points. Macy Sievers and Gracie Schoonhoven each had 15 points for the Defenders. They were 34-3 overall, but Marion finished one better at 35-2.
Shout out to Kenna Kirby. I hope I'm saying that first name right. Her brother chimed in yesterday, mentioning that he was listening out there. The Tri-West product. She was very good last night for Marion. You mentioned Madison Bailey. She played every minute. They got 23 or 24 points there. So down at half, but they're partying on Cold Spring Road. They're partying at Coffin Golf Course today. Shout out to Marion.
Congratulations to the Knights there. No new news for the Indianapolis Colts. Do we expect anything before the owners and then the league gets together next week in Florida?
Not necessarily from my perspective, but I'm very excited to talk to Carla Ursay-Gordon and Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen, just kind of figure out how do you all view what has been, in my opinion, an underwhelming free agency period. Now, the offseason isn't over, but there's still a lot of questions to be answered, and I think a lot of holes to be filled within the roster.
All right, as far as anything else is going on with football is concerned, Indiana hits the field again tomorrow, Kevin.
Yeah, spring football for them underway. Kurt Signetti will meet the media coming up tomorrow. They're back from spring break. I believe they'll have their spring game, and it's a very light spring game typically with Kurt Signetti. April 23rd, I want to say. I did see CBS Sports, Matt Norlander, college basketball writer, just reported this is probably the 100th time that this report has come out in the last decade. Brad Stevens has removed himself from any North Carolina consideration. How many times do you think Brad Stevens has received such a text in his life about pursuing a college basketball head coaching gig?
Probably at least 5 times since he's left.
500. Indiana's done it 5 times.
Well, I was counting like the different programs, but yeah, if you're going like the amount of times, yeah, probably got 20, and since he's left.
Let me just look
He's
at
a hot
automated. He should have like hot keywords of like, would
Google
you
alerts.
have consideration? Do you want to talk? And it just should be automatic no's.
Like the out of office email you get.
Right.
If you don't recognize the number, you just get a standard.
Sure.
Message. That's the way to go. You know you're in trouble when you're trying to call someone you really want to talk to and it goes straight to voicemail.
Shout out to my mom. That happens to her often.
You send your mom the voicemail all the time?
No. She sends me the voicemail.
Oh, okay. That's even better.
Mama don't answer the phone. I told her if I ever get on a game show and they say, who's your emergency contact, you are not the answer.
One of my favorite lines of Sports Illustrated, somebody, it might have been Rick Riley, did a long-form piece on Fred Couples when he was just running the table back in the late 90s in golf. And they talked about him being so shy that he doesn't answer the phone at home. And they asked him why. He said someone might be on the other end.
That's a good one.
All right. Coming up in a moment, we'll talk Pacers basketball and more with Tony East as we continue the Fan Morning Show, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Indoor and outdoor concrete garages, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks. That is what Galaxy Concrete Coatings is all about. Patios, definitely something they really specialize in. This is also workplace, residential. But again, when we say indoor and outdoor concrete, think the inside of it would be a basement standpoint. The outside, again, garages, sidewalks, patios, porches. A couple questions I had, first off was style-wise. Would they have something that kind of meets our home? Our home about 100 years old. And we do. We found it, the Jupiter style. Definitely kind of fit, not only a little bit of kind of matching, again, the, I guess, historical nature of the home, but certainly an upgrade from just a modern day and a lot of wear and tear on that concrete over 100 years. So the new sidewalk, new front porch we got, outstanding from that aspect to it. And I think you'll find that at galaxyconcretecoatings.com. Again, it is indoor and outdoor concrete, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks, garages. The manufacturers upgrade the warranty from 15 years to lifetime, and I thought it was a very efficient process as well. Again, it's Galaxy Concrete Coatings. Head to their website, galaxyconcretecoatings.com today.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We have not talked a ton of NBA basketball so far this morning on this Wednesday at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. But we'll be talking about the Pacers who return home to the Fieldhouse a little bit later on tonight. I was noticing last night in this never-ending season of just outstanding offensive performances. We've seen 80-plus points. We've seen 60-plus points. We've seen crazy stat lines across the board. Nuggets won in Phoenix last night. Jokic, it's so normal now, 23, 17, and 17 from a center. That's just nuts.
Yeah, he is one of the greatest basketball players to ever live, and he's still in his prime.
Let's talk more NBA and Pacers in particular. We bring in our next guest, Tony East, on the Payless Liquors hotline. Tony, of course, one of the premier Pacers writers at several different places, and we appreciate his time here today. Tony, good morning. What is it with the NBA that we're just seeing night after night after night, just unbelievable stat lines and offensive outputs?
Yeah, gosh, Jokic last night was crazy. Game winner, too. Almost blew it, leaving Devin Booker wide open right after. But the scoreboard says they want – look, the March NBA is like this every year. Like, there are so many teams that aren't playing for anything, or their seating's locked up, or somebody's hurt or something, that there's a lot of non-competitive games or not good defensive teams. And look what you get when that happens. A lot of really high-scoring games and – a lot of blowouts. Thankfully, Nuggets Suns was not one of the blowouts, but there's a lot less watchable basketball this time of year in the NBA.
Circle City Spin, where you can find Tony East's work, and we always appreciate his insight when he hops on these airwaves. Is it 10 games left, Tony? Is that right?
On the dot, yes.
10 to go, and fans can cheer for what? 3 wins? If you go north of 3, then you start to sweat lottery odds. Is that right?
Yeah, 3 would give – right now, they're 3 wins behind the Kings, who are the 4th worst record, and that's the lottery ending is 4. But the top 3 are the teams that end with 52% chance at top 4 pick, and then the 4th pick, it goes to 48. So if the Pacers want to maximize their odds of keeping the pick, fewer than 3 wins guarantees it. 3 wins, they need the Kings to win once. And there is a Kings-Nets game next Sunday, or this coming Sunday. So – 3 is probably safe, but 2 or less is a guarantee.
Good. Pacers-Lakers tonight. Looks like really all the frontline players for both teams that are available should be played in this game, LeBron and Luka included in that. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit to the draft. I think the NBA draft has taught us over the years, trying to force a position is a bit risky, a bit greedy. It is simply you need to take best player available. What if that best player available is Darius Acuff?
I can't imagine the Pacers take a tiny guard, right? I mean, has he been that tantalizing in the tournament that people view him over Darren Peterson and Cam Boozer and AJ now? Is that a thing?
I think that's part of it, but I also think my hand is raised here. Which is weird to say, we probably didn't do a good enough job paying attention to him in the SEC regular season. Like, yeah, I think a lot of this was happening, I think, and again, my hand is raised, we just kind of forced ourselves into it's a 4-person draft thing. Now, do you disagree on the first part? Like, forcing positional, whatever, need over best player available, I guess.
No, I am a best player available guy. Now, within mostly reason, I mean, we were all around for them picking Goga when they had Turner and Sabonis, and then they would play Kyle O'Quinn and Jakar Sampson over him, and he never played and got cut, Like if you are loaded at a position, I suppose it's a little different, but especially with a top 4 pick, which is what they're, if they have a pick they're going to have, yeah, you pick the best guy. And, I think TJ McConnell was their only player who was on the Pacers 5 years ago that is still on the team now. Maybe that's it. And, your team just changes so much. And I get that that's different when you're a winner and you're trying to retain your talent, but with the way the NBA is with roster turnover, like you just never know. If you're picking for fit now, your team might look different at the time. So yes, I think you pick the best guy and try to figure it out. But I do understand the Pacers in their current specific situation caring a little bit more about fit than the average team picking in the top 4 would, because they're a contender in theory right now next season, right? Like they need contributors right this second. So if they believe one of the 4 is going to be very good and can help them the most right now, perhaps that is a little bit of a boost, but that's not a huge deal. And I do not think that's a cut for them, especially at a time where small guards are not very popular in the NBA, let's say.
Again, we're talking to Tony East. You can listen to him on Locked On Pacers, as well as subscribe to Circle City Spin, where you get Pacers and Fever coverage in the same outlet. Tony, when I look at this Pacers season, and obviously it's been rough, it's been without Tyrese Halliburton, but he's also had some weird things happen off the court with the shingles, and we haven't had an update since, I think, last time you might have been on. How's he doing?
Yeah, he has been back with the team, but not on the bench this time. We asked Rick Carlisle about that in Milwaukee, I believe. I can't remember, one of their recent road games. It's a longer thing coming back from shingles, right? And it did disrupt his rehab to some extent. You can't be back on the floor right away, so his schedule's got a little changed by that. But I would assume if he's back with the team that, yes, he is back on the floor and able to do at least some things. But who knows the specific reason he's not on the bench, whether it's some level of contagion, if it could still spread, or if there's a rash involved or anything like that. But we have not seen him since, but he is, according to Rick, back with the team now. So I presume his rehab schedule is back as planned.
Tony, we know every injury, even if it sounds the same, is a little bit unique and different to the individual who suffered it. But do you take anything from the return, the fairly early return by Jason Tatum and way he's been playing basketball and what the Celtics have been doing since he rejoined the team? Is that optimistic for Tyrese Halliburton, who will get a lot more time to rest and recover and heal than Tatum did?
Yeah, there's so many data points with Achilles recoveries, and Tatum's is another one now that he came back in, I think, 10 months, like you're saying. And what was unique about him is he got hurt in New York City. They were playing the Knicks the night it happened. So he was able to have his surgery really fast. And there's been a lot of really good stories written out of Boston about how him getting the surgery so early was very helpful for his rehab timeline, perhaps being faster than some previous players who come back from the same injury. And lo and behold, he's back, and he's trying to dunk in his first half back on the floor and things like that. It has been, I think, a little impressive that he's tried to keep his lifts to the level he has and play that way, and the Celtics look pretty good this season. But, Kevin Durant has been the guy that everybody points to as the best post-Achilles return ever, and his skill set specifically doesn't require as much push and lift and things like that. But what made his return unique is he took a full season off, and then there was a long off season because the next season till he returned didn't start till December. But that long gap might have been helpful for him, right? So you wonder with Halliburton what all those kind of contrasting things are in terms of how it'll help. And his game does require a lot of speed and push and lift and things like that. I'm not saying he's going to come back and be the same player like Durant was, but you wonder how that gap could help. But Tatum is playing well in certain ways. DeJounte Murray took over a year. He looks awesome right now. The Pelicans look really good. Tatum actually has been struggling with his jumper a little bit. If his athleticism didn't look the same, I think there'd be more of a concern and talk about that. And the Celtics are playing really well. So I think that, of course, in recent years, the recovery from the injury has gotten better to the point that, that it used to be much more damaging for players, which would be concerning for the Pacers. But I think he's still going to be at least very good next season. And a lot of these guys returning this season have shown that.
Tony East with us here, Payless Liquors Hotline. Again, Circle City Spin, where you can find Tony's work. Last one from me. It looks like Benedict Mathurin is going to return from his toe injury tonight. The Pacers host Mr. Mathurin and the Clippers coming up on Friday. It'll be his first game back inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. How would you compare the anticipated response from the crowd to Benedict Mathurin to Miles Turner from earlier this season?
Yeah, he's completely off the injury report for them tonight, I believe, which is a good sign for him playing on Friday. Look, it's always different when the player chooses to leave versus the team chooses for them to leave in this instance, but that's going to help Ben Mathurin quite a bit. I presume he'll get good cheers for being the sixth man of their best season in franchise history, and was at one point viewed as wow, what could this guy be? The statue Kevin Bowen, right?
Yes,
I'm actually
built by.
Yeah, he was viewed as that level of guy after multiple times throughout his time with the Pacers, but especially after his rookie year when he was drawing a gazillion fouls a game. So, a popular fan favorite, and he's playing very well for the Clippers. That tempo suits him better. I think that a whole team environment suits him very well. So I think he's going to try to score 1 million points, and I think he'll be well received for it.
chin to chin, him and Nemhard at some point?
It wasn't like that in L.A.
I know. It was kind of tame in L.A. Benedict was honestly just cooking.
Yeah, but he was gonna say he just let his game speak and scored a bunch. He played very well, but yeah, I don't think there'll be anything like that necessarily. But it is different when it's in Indy. It's kind of a bummer that Zubats can't play against the Clippers this season too, for that game to really have some spice.
Do you think Benedict is gonna accidentally try to walk to the wrong locker room? Is like the muscle memory gonna throw him off?
Man, I've only heard of one or two players have that happen to them, but it is always confusing when all of a sudden you're like, wait, where am I going? What am I doing? Yeah, him and Isaiah will have to keep each other, in line, figure out where to go in the building.
And Isaiah Jackson's been getting a little bit more clock. He actually played a decent amount, I guess, the first game due to injury, but he's been getting a little bit more clock, right, for him?
Yeah, and he's playing kind of well. Yannick Coden Niederhauser got hurt in that game against the Pacers. He's been their backup center ever since, and has actually looked pretty good. Another Achilles data point that it took him a little bit at the beginning of the season, but his athleticism is mostly back to pre-Achilles levels, albeit he's only 23 or 24 years old. But, yeah, he looks pretty good for them right now.
Tony East, you can read his stuff at Circle City Spin. You can read it at Forbes Sports. And you can also hear him on Locked On Pacers. You can hear him with us every week or so right here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Thanks, Tony. Always appreciate it.
Yep, thanks, guys.
There you go. Coming up in a moment, we'll talk the Purdue Boilermakers getting ready for Texas and the Sweet 16. Take some of your thoughts and phone calls as well. 239-1070 on the Fan text line. That's next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Your March basketball tournament update is brought to you right now by Urology of Indiana Vasectomy Centers, board-certified physicians performing safe and effective vasectomies. View their video and schedule your procedure at vasectomyindy.com. I've got the 2-seed Purdue Boilermakers getting ready to take on the Texas Longhorns. That'll be tomorrow night, the Sweet 16, an NCAA tournament, and we're looking to see if Purdue can get into the Elite Eight, and this group of seniors getting back all the way to maybe even the championship game before all things are said and done. But that'll be coming your way 7:10 tomorrow night from San Jose, California. Last night in Sioux City, Iowa, the Marion Knights claimed their first NAIU women's basketball banner since 2017. They beat the Dordt Defenders 73-61. Marion guard Madison Bailey led all scorers with 23 points, while Macy Sievers and Gracie Schoonhofer each had 15 to lead the Defenders, but it was not enough as Marion wins their third ever national title in women's basketball. So congratulations to them. That is your March tournament update, brought to you by Urology Indiana Vasectomy Centers, board-certified physicians performing safe and effective vasectomies. View our video and schedule your procedure today at vasectomyindy.com.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Just giving James time to get to the post there.
Yeah,
You're soaking that one in.
Jeff, this is on the high school playlist. Kevin, I told you I believe every high school in the state of Indiana has never updated their media after like 2006. And so this is one of those songs I feel like is still somewhere in the pregame archives.
Do we go all the way to Kanye's part, or do we stop short?
I think we might have to start with Kanye's part. Kanye's an interesting fellow these days.
Yeah, I used to be able to rattle off every lyric. I'm not sure if I can. Not sure if I'm super proud of that either.
Well, you probably want a little Kesha, right? To get hyped up?
Kesha on tour, by the way, coming to Indianapolis. So if we want to do a show outing for Kesha coming up, the Freedom Tour, cannot wait.
How about we do a Beers with Bowen leading up to the Kesha concert?
Well, we're going to do a lot more than just beers if we're going to a Kesha concert.
Well, Jeff mentioned this, and he said this during the break. You know, when you have these artists that had like the childhood hits that we had, we don't want to hear the new music.
No.
Love you.
Play the bangers.
Play the bangers. I know you got
from
some
my new soundtrack.
Yeah. Don't want to hear that. Just stick to this is like, you know, Tim Duncan. Stick to the bank shot. It's bread and butter. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the sky hook. It served you well. Keep doing it.
See, I don't mind if they play one or two things to promote the upcoming album. I think that's fair, right? Because they want to keep moving and evolving. But the reason everybody paid all that money to go in there is to listen to the stuff that they've grown used to listening to stuff too.
Exactly.
Let's go.
You bring up the Tim Duncan fundamentals, James. I'm always struck by this every time I watch Purdue. The Trey Kaufman-Wren shot put will never not create an uneasy moment in my brain as he starts to elevate for that. I'm like, there's no way it's going in, right? And then it goes in.
Yeah, he has the demeanor of Tim Duncan too, where he's very low key, but boy, he is just a beast in the post. I always think too, Kevin, like besides like the little shot put,
but it's like floater, me dancing at my wedding. It's not aesthetically pleasing.
No, but you know what I think is also not pleasing? When he takes his left shoulder and drives it into your chest.
Right.
I mean, my goodness, you have to have some weight to, battle with that dude because he will like move you, he will displace you and then go score.
I do love, and he does it now like about once a game, when he leans on you with that left shoulder and then he throws the spin move in there.
Boy.
When he does that, it doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
But man, that guy defended him, looks over the bench and is like, I thought you told me to sit on his left shoulder. And boom, he gets that spin move going. So Texas does have a legit big dude. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, but watch them in the early rounds. He is a pretty quality. And that's what's left for Purdue. We talked about it earlier in the show. They're favored by 7 tonight or 7 tomorrow night. After tonight, you're going to be an underdog every game the rest of the season. Vegas will have you as an underdog.
They like that, though, don't they?
The rest of the way.
I think teams like being the underdog. Nobody believes in us.
They
told us we can't win this game.
You remember when Georgia won the national championship and the guy was like, some guys said we would only win 6 games this year, and it's like, you're in Georgia.
Could we ever have a coach say, I don't like being the underdog? You only hear people say, I like being the underdog. When is a coach going to say, no, I'd rather have more talent? I'd rather be the favorite. I'd rather be the one that everyone thinks is going to win. I'd rather walk into that arena with, MJ and Pippen than Bowen and Boyd.
Yeah. Hold on now. Well, yeah, MJ and Pippen. Well, Pippen right now is tripping. You might want me to be more of the cheerleader for Michael Jordan than Scottie Pippen currently. He's delusional. But anyways, when you look at those types of coaches who might do that, I think Mick Cronin is like number 1 on that list. I feel like he'd be wild enough to say something like that. Just give me the good players. I don't want to be a loser. I don't want to be underdog. I want to be top dog.
He said he needed $5 million. Is that what he said after his presser the other day?
I feel like
give me $5 more million.
Caleb, he is wild enough to say anything.
Again, I think this is a good era for failing coaches because you can play the money card. Well, you can just say, we don't have enough resources. And do any of us really know that? This is not like the salary cap in other sports.
Yeah, where it's just open to everybody.
Or like in Major League Baseball, when the Oakland A's manager comes out and says, we don't have enough money, you're kind of like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. And nowadays, it's just like everybody just says it. I don't have enough money. Resources aren't very good. And a lot of times, they're not wrong, to be clear. Now, I don't know the validity of Mick Cronin here, but Yeah, I think that's the new day and age of like, boy, that's the easiest excuse in America right now. If you're a failing college sports coach, you just say, huh, look at the money. We don't have it.
Or you have to hire a GM. That buys you another year too. It's like if we don't have a GM, like, hey, we need to make some space for a GM to get here. We can figure the portal out.
I told him this is the players that I wanted. He didn't listen to me.
Exactly.
Right?
Like now we can. That's how you buy another year too. Is you like if you don't like I guarantee you that's what Kentucky's going to do. They don't have one. Mark Pope's gonna.
Yeah, he's hiring some dude from BYU, right? Or he's got some history from BYU.
Absolutely.
Do you think we'll ever get to a point where the salaries of players are disclosed? Not there's a range. Yeah. We think this. Do you think we'll get to a point where we know every team's budget and what every player is getting paid?
It's a great question. I think we should. I hope. I know that gets into a dangerous game, but hell, it's already pretty dangerous. I don't know if it's happening very soon, James, but I think from some sort of collective bargaining, they are employees of the school. You can sign them to multi-year contracts. I think all of that needs to happen.
Yeah, because I'm like, you can look up a university professor and their salary. That is public information, especially if they go to a public school. So if you're at a public university, I kind of want to know what the top guys are getting paid.
And I get it. You're going to hear, mental health, and you're going to hear all this, and it's going to be a much more dangerous.
Oh,
slope.
Definitely.
To that end, everybody's favorite coach, Tommy Tuberville, turned senator. He's introduced the Student Athlete Act, setting a 5-year eligibility window for college athletes, allows 1 penalty-free transfer, and requires a full year sit-out for any more than 1. He'd like to make that a law.
I think I can get behind that. So you get 1 free transfer, and then old transfer rule would apply after that.
Yeah, you got to sit out a year if you
now
go
again, I can hear people counter and say, well,
Darren DeVries, you sit out a year.
Well, Darren DeVries went from Drake, West Virginia, and IU in a 4-year span.
Yeah.
So he obviously would qualify. And so I like that though. I think that would provide a little bit more of roster continuity, allow you to build a little bit more. Yeah, I think that would be healthy.
The question is, though, if you've now made these guys employees, are you limiting their employment choices? And is that legal?
This is why I don't want everyone to go into the political side of college sports because, boy, the questions are endless. That's a tough job, honestly. But the NCAA can blame themselves because they waited forever to pay guys.
How does the NCAA feel about the Senate trying to tell them what they can and can't do with their rules, too? Aren't we at war with somebody right now?
College basketball is just nuts. It is the sport where I feel like we can argue the most about so many different things. And it's probably why I love it.
All right, that's what's happening in the world of sports. Coming up in a moment, we'll check in on college basketball. Our good friend Jordan Cornette stops by to tell us more about Purdue, the NCAA, and all the things we were just talking about. We'll continue next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Purdue basketball played their B game today, and their B game was enough to win. Braden Smith played his D game, but he was lifted up by two other pieces that have meant everything to this program. Their all-time three-point leader, Fletcher Lawyer, was electric. 4 of 4 from beyond the arc for 24 points, 6 of 7 from the field, and consistently they were able to go down low to Trey Kaufman-Renn, the master of the floater. He was dominant in the painted area with 19 points. Malik Purdue, they knew that they were going to go to him early and often. He did finish with 16, but on 6 of 15 shooting, made it tough on the big fella. That was the difference. A group that's won a lot, figuring it out down the stretch when they absolutely needed to.
Have a look, Kevin. Have you seen what the over-under for this game is? You got Texas averaging 83 points a game, Purdue 82 points a game. This could just be.
I don't think it was
going to wear you out.
Yeah, I don't think it was as high as some of the others, like Michigan, Bama. I want to say it was pretty high, 148.5. But like Arizona, Arkansas, 166.5. Coming up tomorrow night there. So that is a huge one. Miami or Michigan, Bama. 174 there. So, yeah, it looks like the third highest of the 8 Sweet 16 teams right there.
You looking forward to see Camden Heide?
Sure.
Against his old team?
It's
a good storyline.
Yeah, I mean, there's part of me that's kind of curious, would he match up at all with Braden Smith? If you're trying to get some length on to Braden Smith there, would that be an option at all? For those that have been following the Cam Heide story, he's starting for Texas. He doesn't play a ton of minutes, but that's pretty much been his role there. And, of course, he had a huge shot to ice that win over Gonzaga, a la very similar to what we saw against Houston last year, although Houston won definitely a little bit more closely guarded in that one. So, I'll be curious just to see how that plays out. Seems like Purdue, understands that Cam Heide got quite the significant pay raise to go be at Texas.
Really, though, I think they'll be more concerned with Dalen Swain, who at 6'8", he's an interesting matchup problems for bigger guys because of his quickness, and obviously at 6'8", he's a little quicker than the big guys, but he's also a better rebounder, a bit stronger, better defender than the 6'6", 6'7" guys. He creates a problem, James.
Absolutely. I just can't wait for the game. I mean, I love talking about this stuff, but boy, I think to Kevin's point from earlier in the week, I'm past the not relief because I'm not a diehard Purdue fan, but I guess I'm past the, okay, they've made it this far to, all right, when's tip-off?
7:10 tomorrow night.
It could be at 7:10 a.m., and I'll be locked in.
I didn't know that much about Vukatitis until this tournament. I started watching the Texas games.
He's a problem.
Man, he's pretty good.
Yeah, no, he's a problem. I think he's somebody who's definitely going to be atop the scouting report, that's for sure.
62% from the floor. He's averaging almost 16 points a game, but he moves well. I was surprised how well he moved and was able to operate, in closed spaces down low. So and then we see Trayman Mark. Remember, he hit the game winner in the playing the first 4 game. They're playing well, and they have issues for people like Purdue right now.
Yeah, one thing on Purdue, and I know you touched on it a little bit previously before we went to break, Kevin, Trey Kaufman-Renn. I know last year he averaged 20 points a game. This year it was down largely due to the arrival of Oscar Clough. But as of late, he's turned kind of back into that big-time scorer. And I think that's offset some of the issues we've seen with Braden Smith. And I don't want to make it seem like Braden Smith is having some terrible tournament. Like, that's not that true at all. But shooting the basketball-wise, he's been very reliable. Trey Kaufman-Renn, throwing in the post, and it's basically money. I mean, you're looking at back-to-back games of 20, 25, and 19. Like, that is...
And does that include the Michigan game when you rattle that off?
I believe so.
Yeah. I mean, think about the first meeting with Michigan, all that length, the issues they had in Mackey, trying to finish through those guys. Then they see them again. Him and Oscar Clough were super efficient in that Big Ten title game. And I actually think Miami, not that Malik renewed some rim protector, but, Udo, the other guy, is definitely known a little bit more for that. So, they will see size with Texas. They will see size if they move on, certainly Arizona, and obviously with the Final Four. So, I don't know. I'm trying not to Texas lost 5 of 6 going into the tournament.
Yeah.
They were a shot away from being stuck in Dayton. I don't.
But that's the weirdness of March, though.
I get it. I shouldn't act like Texas is a nobody, and I know, Corey Elliott would be very, very mad at me giving us Texas fandom, but I'm just not. I'd be very surprised if Texas beat Purdue. I guess is the simplest way I'm going to put it. Granted, every Purdue fan out there would be like, we felt the same way about St. Peter's. Because you remember, that was Sweet 16. St. Peter's already beat Kentucky. I mean, that was the same thing. You got 4 or 5 days to get ready for it and all of that.
I do want to see how Texas defends Fletcher Lawyer. I believe they keep saying this stat after every game where he's made double-digit threes in maybe 17 or 18 straight games, something crazy like that, which, I mean, it lets you know how good of a shooter he is, but he continues to get those opportunities. So what does his gravity present to that Texas defense? Like, do they face guard him more? Does that open up more opportunities for other guys to make shots? Like, how does that all kind of work out? Because he's another one that has turned it on as of late and couldn't really be playing any better basketball.
Well, we find out tomorrow, 7:10, San Jose, Purdue taking on Texas. They are 7.5-point favorites, the Boilermakers are right now, and 148.5, as you were saying a minute ago.
Has anybody been to San Jose?
Yeah.
I have not.
Oh, boy. It just sounds – I mean, anything on the West Coast, you can sign me up this time of the year, but –
Didn't Rob Blackman tell us he was there to call an arena football game back in the day?
Yeah.
I did a Sacramento State San Jose game one time there.
Well, Jeff, I feel like you've lived a life. You have
we'll talk about it sometime.
Been around the world doing this
fun.
College basketball and pro football and everything.
It's a good thing about getting a little bit older. You've had a chance to do some things.
Hey,
now I like hanging out with you guys. How about that?
Yeah, nothing's wrong with that. I just was curious. Like, man, San Jose for a chance to get to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun watch. And I also think at this point in time there are coaches. And a lot of them are still alive in the Sweet 16. They just know how to navigate an NCAA tournament. And I know that Matt Painter hasn't won it all yet, and they had that first-round upset, and I know things don't always go their way, but 7 of the last 9 getting to the Sweet 16. You played in a national championship. You played in an Elite Eight. I think he has a pretty good idea of how to prepare a team on just a couple of days that you get to play against. And I think that even over Sean Miller at this point in time, I'd take Matt Painter every day and twice on Sundays.
Your guys' favorite Sweet 16 game?
Ooh. Favorite Sweet 16 game? It might have been...
I have echoed Illinois-Houston as mine. Now, again, I'm all for the beer game tomorrow, Iowa-Nebraska. The state of Texas, we can't be worried about oil right now. I know we are. We need to be worried about getting a proper amount of beer into... whatever. They play the Rockets Arena down there in Houston because Iowa and Nebraska fans, they might start drinking oil, honestly, if you provide that in a can for them.
I mean, he's not lying.
I'm half serious, half joking.
To not go with the homer pick.
Sorry, James,
Illinois,
for stealing
Houston.
your alma mater.
No, that's fine. I'm still going to be locked into
you got a lot of other good choices, I feel.
Yeah, I'll go St. John's and Duke. I think St. John's defensively,
that's a first game Friday, right?
Yeah, yep. and they're just pit bulls on defense. You have, obviously, Pitino, who's one of the best coaches ever, going up against John Shire, who I think he's off to a great start at Duke, but he's got to be feeling like, man, last year we squandered away one of these moments. And can we get back there and kind of finish the job this year? And all the hype around the Boozer twins and Cameron Boozer in particular. So that's one I'm very excited for.
And you got Zuby Ejiofor, which anybody that was watched St. John's, that is a big old body down low. That's your Big East player of the year, him against Boozer.
And they can just make the game ugly and win. Like they win in such ugly fashion.
Yeah, they won it ugly.
One of the nightcaps on Thursday, Arizona, Arkansas. Just, you got Calipari going up against this amazingly athletic Arizona team, and he's got some athletes too. That'll be a fun game to watch. And then you've heard me use the phrase rock fight. Is there a better description in the preview for just a rock fight game between Michigan State and UConn?
No. That'll be some high blood pressure there on the sideline. We might see two coaches duking it out by the end of that one.
Caleb, you got one?
I can't wait to listen to those two in the post game. I'll tell you that.
Well, it's funny that James pointed out the Duke game is that he's the most excited for that because I'm most excited for the Illinois-Houston game. Like when that was like the first Sweet 16 matchup that got locked last weekend, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, this is going to be a war. Like, I can't wait.
No, nobody said Iowa, Nebraska.
It's got me so excited that my voice just cracked as I was saying that. So like that's
isn't this for the corn gathering world championship? Iowa and Nebraska?
That'll be a good one too. It's just,
Although there's a lot of fine corn grown right here in Indiana too, I should say.
That's right. That's right. Well, if they one of those teams can make it through, they'll get to come down to Indianapolis in a week.
James, I think the Colts have improved in one specific area this offseason, and I'm dead serious about that.
Can I take a guess?
Sure.
Kicker?
That's actually not a bad
They
guess.
They got healthy competition between two guys who last we saw them both were doing a good job.
Yeah,
I'm a little worried about Spencer Schrader's leg, but one area, James, that I legitimately think they've gotten better.
Boy.
Yeah, because we talked a lot about, well, they're running it back and they haven't gotten better. Blah, blah,
Cornerback?
blah. I think their defensive tackle depth has gotten better.
Okay, I was thinking cornerback because you're getting healthier. You're getting some depth there as well.
Now, when I say that,
boy,
defensive tackle depth, my mind kind of goes back to you on the date with the girl with the Tesla.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, you go on this date, you come home, whatever, roommate, whatever, friends, family, hey, how'd it go? And before you comment on personality, before you comment on looks, before you comment on chemistry, before you comment on what happened after the date, your first thing is she had a nice car.
Yeah.
The Colts have good defensive tackle depth. She has a nice car.
And they picked them all up, right? Michael Clemens, Colby Wooden, and Arden Key.
Well, I mean, those are more ends, Clemens and Key. I'm kind of pointing more
I'm
towards
just looking across the
Wooden
entire thing, yeah.
And a little bit more Tillery with that. So I don't know if it's a compliment you want, but my mother always said to me, you take that compliment, young man.
See, I didn't always listen to mom. So when they asked me how to date, when I told them it was terrible, this girl didn't charge her car.
Yeah,
we're out here with a big dead iPhone. That's how I looked at it.
Did you even call her back after that?
No, I made sure I actually did talk to her after that, but yeah, we did not speak to her after that.
Yeah, okay. Just checking.
I was
Just
thinking,
double-checking.
oh man, like you have met a very good dude who will stay with you through all of this, but baby, after this, I'm going ghost.
Was she appreciative? Was she embarrassed? How'd it go?
I mean, I can lay on the couch here if you want me to, but yeah, she was definitely embarrassed, and it was just one of the more bizarre things in the world. I think she made me realize.
Because I kind of feel bad for her now.
I mean, don't feel bad. The car tells you it needs to be charged, and you just don't charge it. I mean, we're not talking about some car with no gas gauge. It literally speaks to you and says, "Hey, charge me," and you choose not to do it.
Now, in Chris Ballard's eyes, saying that you've got good defensive tackle depth, that's as attractive as Jeff looking at his beef and broccoli from Cluster Truck. Right?
I know, but this is where I get hung up.
Like you
we
watching
talked about
Tiger
depth
Woods.
so much.
Sure.
What about the starters?
Right. I know. But, I do want to be serious for a moment. Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner are getting up there in age. Buckner coming off neck surgery.
Yeah.
I do think it is again, notable thing to point out is probably a little bit of a stretch. But I do think at some point over the course of a 17-game season this fall, we could look at it and say, you know what? That's helping this team out. Now, putting that to the side, yes, James, what about your starters? Because I have the feel right here on March 25th of
right.
The general feeling is like, well, fiscally, the Colts continue to be pretty frugal and pretty smart with their money.
Yeah.
But are they better?
Yeah, I mean, right now, you have the Tesla, and it's not charged. How do you charge it? Can't charge it with depth. So you need some dudes. And actually, I was going through my big board. I think that comes out tomorrow. We could probably talk about it here on the show a little bit, looking at some college prospects. But even then, I mean, I'm looking at, I think I went through 15 guys, 5 each at wide receiver, defensive end, and linebacker. Yeah, those will be great players, I think, to add to this team. It could be day one starters potentially, but it's not like you can get all of them. So what are you doing? I mean, even at best case scenario, let's say you hit on your second and third round picks and you get those guys to come and be a part of your team and contribute right away. But what else are you missing? Because as you pointed out, Kevin, I believe you lost 5 starters via free agency or a trade. And we're not saying you should have kept all 5 of them, but how do you backfill them and how do you account for the loss of snaps, the experience, all of the above? Because banking on a bunch of rookies to come in, I'm going to say a bunch, but banking on, honestly, one rookie coming in and being an impact player from day one, particularly on defense, I think that's kind of a pipe dream from what we've seen in previous years.
Yeah, I was listening to Derek Schultz. I always enjoy kind of his insight, and he had a funny analogy of like, I need to make a sandwich, and yeah, I've got moldy cheese, so yeah, I need to throw that out, but I still have to make the sandwich. Like, you could say the Colts threw out moldy cheese. That's probably a little harsh to describe all of those starters as moldy cheese, to be clear, but you still got to make the sandwich. You can't starve. You can't just, like you have to do something here. And that's where, I mean, you just said it, like if they hit on their second and third round pick, find me a draft. And I'll say this for any GM, not Chris Ballard.
Seriously.
Find me a draft where a team hits on their second and third round pick in year one.
That's what I'm saying.
That is,
that's a lot.
That is a far-fetched dream there. So,
but right now that feels like perhaps
it feels necessary.
Best avenue to acquire the talent you need?
It almost feels necessary for you to, again, have a football team that I think we get to this fall and think, okay, this is a team that is going to compete in a very competitive AFC, because I'll continue to stress that. I think the AFC's depth.
Yeah.
When you talk about that conference, 1 to 10 is
tough.
As loaded as it's been in quite a while. It might not have Brady top heaviness or Manning, Roethlisberger, Rivers. It might not be that top heavy. But when you talk about a playoffs that we just got finished with that didn't have Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes, and what has Baltimore done this offseason? I'd say Kansas City's added some notable as well. That to me is where I sit here and struggle a bit.
Yeah, and I think we all feel good with the secondary, but it's the front seven, the questions that we have.
Yeah, I think there is potential for the secondary to be very good. I do. Safety, maybe a little bit of a question, but if you just lay out your starters on paper, Javarius Ward, Kenny Moore, Sauce Gardner, Cam Bynum, and again, we'll see who the other starting safety is. Those are some pretty quality football players. Now, again, lasting 17 games, all that, we'll have to wait and see. But on paper, that's got the makings of a pretty good secondary.
All right, Caleb, let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Indiana Pacers back at the Fieldhouse tonight hosting the Los Angeles Lakers. We expect to see LeBron James and Luka Doncic play in that game tonight. For the Indiana Pacers, obviously Zubac is out for the year. Tyrese Halliburton is out for the year. But when you take a look at the rest of the injury report, most folks are probable right now. When you look at Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam, Obi Toppin, they could all probably play tonight.
I foresee an Andrew Nembhard left wing three at the buzzer.
Ooh.
That's his shot, man. And he made one as a rookie over the Lakers, by the way, to beat him.
Was that Lakers Warriors couple games out there where Nembhard went off?
Yeah. That's when I became a believer, because boy, he's a second round pick and he is very good at this point.
Last time they played the Lakers, March 6th, it was in L.A. Luka Doncic scored 44 points in just 32 minutes.
Yeah, and the last time they played here, LeBron had that tip-in at the buzzer, so it's time for the Pacers to get back.
All right, Pascal Siakam, as he tends to always do, led the team last time they played with 26. Purdue getting ready for the Sweet 16 against Texas tomorrow. They'll be in San Jose, and they are getting ready for another opportunity to go deep into this tournament. Right now, they are 7.5-point favorites, James.
I'm rolling with that. Need Braden Smith to shoot the ball better and take care of the basketball against Texas, but you're favored for a reason. You should win.
All right, that's what's happening in basketball.
Again, they'll have an open practice today, so you should get a CJ Cox update later today. They got to San Jose yesterday, so open practices abound, and then again tomorrow, 7:10. That's CBS for the Boilers.
And he keeps saying that he's expecting to play, but the players always think that they're going to play, right?
Yeah, but it does sound like he avoided a major injury, so honestly, thank God for that.
Which, not to think about next year for just a second, but CJ Cox is going to be a massive piece next year.
Oh.
And for a split second there, I thought to myself, boy, if that's ACL, oh boy.
It changes everything.
Women's college basketball. The Marion Knights claimed their first title in the NAIA since 2017, defeating Dort 73-61 in Sioux City, Iowa yesterday. Marion guard Madison Bailey led all scorers with 23 points. That is the third national championship for the Lady Knights over there. So congratulations to them right there. Also, NCAA news, UNC fires Hubert Davis after his first-round loss with UNC. He was just 1-12 this past year against Quad 1 opponents. and not very good against quad one opponents in his career, which is probably leading to his downfall there. Florida looking to extend Todd Golden to a third straight contract extension. And the coaching carousel, we may have a new version of March Madness here moving forward, Kevin.
And you said in the break you saw some on Bill Self. Is that right?
I saw an unconfirmed report from a self-proclaimed reporter that Bill Self, according to sources, is going to retire. I've not seen any of the major news outlets pick that up at this point in time.
Don't get duped out there, my people.
Hey,
gotta be careful.
April Fool's is next week, right?
Gotta be careful.
Yeah, I obviously, even if it's just North Carolina, I mean, when's the last time North Carolina's made a hire outside of their family? So the domino effect that we could see off of this could be very rippling across college basketball, and that's not even bringing Kansas into the situation here. So be fascinated to see the route that they decide to go there.
All right. The high school championships for Indiana are coming your way this Saturday. Class 1A at 10:30 in the morning, Bar Reeve and Triton. Class 2A will be Park Heritage and Westview. Then in the evening session, beginning at 6, it'll be Cathedral against New Haven. Cathedral 24-5. A little bit of an upset to get here, Kevin, but what are their chances?
Well, Keaton Aldridge was outstanding. I got to point him out. They were down 8 entering the fourth quarter against Silver Creek on Saturday, and that man went bully ball. Kind of a bigger guard going to Detroit next year, and Silver Creek, a lot of size for them. They didn't have an answer for him. So, yeah, him and Julian Smith, pretty good duo there for Cathedral. New Haven, I know record-wise, I want to say they have the most losses, I think, of any team in the state finals. But they also won kind of a heroic fashion, last-second layup to beat Columbia City in their semi-state. John Herrick had a great call of that one there. Again, 2A and 4A. Those are where my eyes are at. Park Heritage and Westview in 2A, two teams that have only lost to 4A schools, and then 4A. James, I know you saw the first matchup between Mount Vernon and Crown Point, and I think very deserving of 2.0 here.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one, mainly because I view it as best player versus perhaps best team in Crown Point, and Luke Ertl can do some special things. And for this to be your last not last college game, but last high school game, it should be a doozy. And me and Caleb Zuber will be in the building for the 3A game.
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
Yes, sir. Can't wait. First IHSA state championship experience for me. I'm excited.
And then Jeff on the call, 4A. Boy, I'm reading the SpongeBob memes saying outside the old game bridge there.
You're Squidward, huh?
I will point out
He's crusty.
Purdue's Elite 8 tip time could be right around that 4A tip time. So just FYI for Purdue fans out there as they are juggling things that are good to juggle this time of year.
Charge the phone.
What's the name of the guy who runs the Krusty Krab? I can't remember his name.
Mr. Krabs.
Mr. Krabs, that's what it is right there. I had Krusty the Clown on my mind because we were at Universal Studios this past week, and the boys, that was their favorite ride, was the Simpsons
Not
ride.
bad.
So, yeah, Mount Vernon 27-3, Crown Point 25-1. That will be a terrific basketball game. Major League Baseball, we got a season opener tonight, Kevin Bowen, but it's two teams, and it's hard to get excited for the Yankees and the Giants, isn't it?
Yeah, so day games tomorrow, right? Cubs and Reds in the afternoon.
Yep.
Reds will do their tradition.
Andrew Abbott will get the opening day start.
Can you call it opening day if it's happening at night?
I know.
That's the question.
Yeah.
I don't think you can.
Not to be baseball, get off my lawn, Caleb, but yeah, I think I'm with you there.
Well, this is how I felt about those Colts Indiana Nights uniforms that they wore in the daytime for like 2 years. So they finally won this Monday night game this past year.
1 o'clock against the Browns kind of hits different than in a Monday night football game, right?
I forgot about that. I don't feel like the Indiana Nights jerseys haven't gone well for the Colts.
No, but I saw Phillip Rivers in one of them, so my heart is content.
Hey, while we're talking about football, Joe Flacco has a job again for 2026.
I did.
Signed on with the Cincinnati Bengals. Back up Joe Burrow there.
And, I mean, not to be petty, but Joe Burrow has an injury history, so there's a good chance that Joe Flacco could be out there slinging some deep balls again.
And it looks like Andy Dalton done with the Carolina Panthers. He's going to the Philadelphia Eagles now to be a backup.
QB movement. Do we see anything on Anthony Richardson here in the next couple of weeks?
I mean, honestly, of those three, you'd want Anthony Richardson other than the other two, wouldn't you?
Not so sure.
It depends on what you want, right? Because if you just need somebody to
the Bengals are trying to stopgap it.
Right.
They're just trying to say, hey, Flacco, Burrow's out a month. Go win us 2 games.
That's the difference.
There you go. Good to be 41 years old and have a lot of NFL experience, I guess, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's got plenty of. He's had quite the career.
All right. Anything else you guys want to throw in before we head to break?
No. Actually, I do throw this in really quickly. When it comes to Caitlin Clark and the new CBA, she is set to receive a massive raise. So last year her salary was $78,000. Under the new CBA, she is projected to make $527,000 because of her making all WNBA and the increase in salary cap and all of that. And then Aaliyah Boston will be in line for a max contract salary, which I believe is around $1.4 million for 2026. So shout out to the Fever Stars for getting their just due through the CBA.
And I think Caitlin is
have
probably
free agency soon, right?
Yeah, got to open it up quickly.
So a lot of this isn't official yet, but I was just throwing out those two. Those are projected to happen for
because Kelsey Mitchell.
Yeah.
Is Lexi Hall a free agent?
I believe so.
Yeah, the only two they have under contract officially is
Caitlin
Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin, and Michaela Timpson.
Right. I think Caitlin's okay. That's her second paycheck, probably the WNBA, right?
Yeah, but
After
still,
19.
I mean, to go from
I'll take it.
78,000 to 527.
No, I'll take it.
That's massive.
I'll take it. My point is she's doing extremely well for herself.
Absolutely, she's earned
And
it.
good for her. Yeah, nobody's mad at her for it at all.
Oh no.
All right, coming up in a moment, we'll talk more about the NCAA tournament and crazy stuff going on in the coaching carousel. What does it all mean, and how does it trickle down to Butler at the end of the day? We'll ask that question next in 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I have a question for everyone now. And just Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina. What do they all have in common right now?
You said Kansas,
Kentucky, and North Carolina.
Coaches on hot seats are out the door?
They're all watching the Sweet 16 from home at this point in time. And that doesn't sound like a big deal in and of itself. Crazy. But for the fourth year in a row, it is pointed out by one of the premier reporters on college basketball, Dan Wetzel, that for the fourth consecutive year, none of those teams will reach the Final Four. It's the third time in 6 years the Sweet 16 takes place without any of them. And keep in mind, for perspective, from 1985 to 2020, the collective failure to reach the second weekend of the tournament for those teams only one time in 2006. And so the question is, in this day and age of NIL.
Breaking news from
Kevin Bowen,
93.5
what do
and
we have?
107.5
Is it
The
official?
Fan.
Some reports here, and I guess I'll single out somebody in their own backyard. Akeem Gillespie from the Indianapolis Star reporting Ronald Norred, former, of course, player, NBA assistant, to be the next head coach of the Butler Bulldogs.
Are you worried at all that he's never had any real head coaching experience?
Well, Brownsburg High School, right? Wasn't he a head coach there? I don't know.
Right?
Yeah, I had to deal with some parents there in Hendricks County. No, in all seriousness. Yeah, obviously that's probably the biggest question. Norred's coaching whatever pathway. I mean, I think at one point there, people thought he was going to be an NBA head coach, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of going on that path. He obviously was an assistant with Boston, if I'm not mistaken. Did he coach their G League team? I think he was either an assistant or maybe
it was like the Maine Red Claws or something like that.
And then, of course, was with Rick Carlisle's staff here in Indiana a couple years ago, currently with the Atlanta Hawks. And I remember a Butler game earlier this year when Atlanta was in town, him sitting courtside with Grant Linedecker. It's kind of funny now. Here we are a couple months later, and he's the head coach. So I think from the onset, this is the name I thought Butler would go. You have questions, Jeff, obviously, about head coaching experience. But where you don't have questions, I think, is full-on energy to want to revive the program. For anyone that heard Ronald Norred talk, he is going to be able to create energy and leadership in an instant. And I think that is needed, frankly. If you need to inject some life into your program of like, hey, can I get people to rally behind me? I do think Norred fits more of that personality here. And again, Grant Linedecker, the AD, a teammate of Ronald Norred's on the national runner-up teams. Gordon Hayward, the GM, obviously a fellow starter with Ronald Norred. And if you ever watch Ronald Norred play at Butler, you know full well that man was Butler's leader of those teams.
And again, my only concern is coaching at this level, being a head coach. Clearly, they know him well. They know what he's capable of. He knows basketball, clearly. I mean, he's been working in the NBA and in college basketball as an assistant for a while now. And it's also going to be about comfort with everybody else who's making hirings over there at Butler and who they're comfortable with and what the plan is. But you're right about one thing. He will certainly bring nonstop energy, Kevin. There's no question about that.
I mean, he's 36, so he probably can relate to more of this NIL world than the old guard when it comes to coaches. Not saying they can't either, but there is a certain level of youthfulness there, of wonder, I would imagine. And also, knowing Ronald a little bit from covering him when he's with the Pacers, a dude that will certainly, I think, be able to get some guys to buy in. And I wonder if it does help to just say, hey, I wore the uniform and here's what we did. And is that part of the pitching, plan when it comes to recruiting guys and talking about a two-time, Horizon League Defensive Player of the Year back then. So, yeah, I'm excited for him. He's a good dude. And, yeah, we'll see how it works out. A lot of moving parts, and you got to build a staff after that. But I think it's one that makes sense.
Yeah, I think from an optimistic point of view, Jeff, to go back to, no head coaching experience, no college experience, right? I think it was just Brownsburg and then straight.
He was an assistant at Northern Kentucky.
Okay, so he was at
for a year.
For some reason.
At the Norse?
They're relatively new to D1 there. But
he was a head coach for the Long Island Nets.
Right. But, again, college experience, virtually none. I would argue, though, nowadays the college game is so freaking different than it was 5-7 years ago. You might make the case it's more NBA-like. It's more, hey, how are we building the roster on an annual basis? how are we dealing with egos from a money standpoint? So that aspect, I think, is different there. But this is definitely quite the move from Butler. Again, I've had a feeling Norwood was probably the favorite when it was, when this job opened up, I guess, whenever it was 2 weeks ago at this point here. And, portal doesn't open up till the Tuesday after the title game. So if you want to play this out, Ronald Norwood's got a week and a half to assemble staff, kind of get ducks in a row. And then obviously Butler's going to have to attack the portal in a pretty significant manner. And of course, what finances he has walking into that will be a major question.
And when you talk about portal too, the thing that he will probably have going for him in the sales pitch will be, hey, look, I'm proof that anything's possible at Butler. Last time I played here, we went to Final Fours. So it can be done here. He's a young, energetic guy. There's probably, some way to relate to recruits in that way.
For sure.
You also say, hey, look, I also know what it takes to get to the NBA. You want to come here and work on a shot to get in the NBA?
Yeah, that's a factor I hadn't thought of, Jeff.
I've been in the league for 8 years now.
Yeah.
I know exactly what they're looking for at the next level. So, A, I'm young and energetic. B, I'm proof that you can do anything at Butler. Because last time I was here, we went to a championship game and Final Fours. That's what we did. And I know what it takes to get you to the next level. Those are all the things working in his favor.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I hadn't thought about the NBA factor from that perspective. But, yeah, if you can say, I have been in the same room as the best in the world, you can trust me. I think that goes a little bit further along than someone who just hasn't had that experience. So
I would also expect a guy, Kevin, that will bring an expectation that you're going to play defense here. Last time I checked, he was a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in his conference.
Yeah, certainly it was not out there for 40-some minutes a game for his offensive prowess by any means there. But, it was defense. And, he definitely hit some big shots in both of those runs there. But, yeah, just made so many plays that a coach would be obsessed with, which is no shock of why he then got into coaching after that.
I remember he was the head coach of the Summer League team a few years ago when they traded for, Aaron Nesmith. And it was a big deal at the time. I was out in Las Vegas, and I was talking to him so is Aaron Nesmith going to play? And so look how much their lives have changed in the last few years.
Yeah, I remember we had him on the show before the Summer League. He had to have been. I'm trying to think how old he was when he took that Brownsburg head coaching job. I mean, I bet he had to be 25 years old at the oldest when he took that job, which, again, full circle from Gordon Hayward.
That's 13 years ago, and he's 36 right now. He was
I think
23.
that was a job right out of college.
There you go, 23. So he was even younger from that aspect. I think the biggest question is, obviously, we've talked a lot about Ronald Norwood, and I don't want to discredit what a head coach of a program means right now, but I think if we asked Thad Matta his true feelings about the program, he'd say, all right, where are we at financially?
Yeah.
Is there only so much you can do? I brought it up earlier in the show. We debated this a little bit in the 7 o'clock hour. There was some smoke yesterday kind of on social media about Micah Shrewsbury potentially being the next guy at Butler. And Tom Noy, the South Bend Tribune writer who covers Notre Dame, came out last night, said Micah Shrewsbury is going to be back. And he pointed out an anecdote about Notre Dame's current situation with their roster. Notre Dame is a rotational player that made $150,000 last year to play for Notre Dame, and he is being offered $1 million by another school this coming season. So, you could have Vince Lombardi on the sidelines, and if you're getting offered 10 times more, and again, maybe let's call it 5 times more, if you're Butler's 6th man and you have a quality first year, and then all of a sudden St. John's comes calling, UConn comes calling, and they say, here you go. How are you competing? That to me is a bigger question right now. More than Ronald Norwood, more than John Gross, more than Micah Shrewsbury.
Money.
It is, can you sustain? Can you build a roster that, we saw this year with Butler. As soon as one injury occurred, it just started to crack. And depth, I think, is a huge deal for teams in building kind of an NIL roster. Michael Jai is a great player. Finley Bizjack's a very good player. But, they can only do so much. And when Jalen Jackson went down, Butler went from a tournament team to, on a huge losing streak. And they had some other injuries too. But, to me, I think that's probably the bigger question, athletic department, and maybe even university-wise.
That's what's happening the very latest. Butler has a brand new head coach, Ronald Norwood. We'll talk a little bit more about that and also ask the question I was getting ready to ask you guys about Blue Blood since we're talking about college basketball coaches. We'll wrap it up next, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Everybody knows I got the magic in me.
Caleb, just because my wife has this movie on at the house all the time, this reminds me of Pitch Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the songs that they mess with over there.
There you go. Big Pitch Perfect fan. I didn't have that on the bingo card.
The proposal, Pitch Perfect.
Caleb, he ain't as tough as you think.
The proposal with Sandra Bullock and Pitch Perfect, they seemingly are on in my living room all the time.
Yeah.
If not that, then it's the Friends reruns that go forever.
Well, that's good. That Friends reruns in the background are always good to have.
It's all fine, but it's just, I go downstairs and watch sports. And
See, I feel like I like all of those shows better now because I can understand them. Because when I saw Friends, my grandma had like regular TV, so Friends would come on, King of Queens, and I'm like, I don't understand. These shows stink. And now I'm like, all these shows are great. So a little perspective always makes it a little better.
If you're just tuning in, Kevin, we had some breaking news just a moment ago. It looks like Butler has a brand new head basketball coach.
Indeed, the point guard from the national runner-up teams, Ronald Norred, the new head coach at the age of 36 for the Butler Bulldogs, will be introduced Friday at noon. Grant Linedecker right now looks like it with Ronald Norred up. I assume it's Detroit. The Hawks playing the Pistons tonight. It looks like Ronald Norred telling the Hawks team that he is off to his alma mater there. So
you told him he's sick of the play-in every year. That 9-10 spot. You can guarantee no matter what happens, the Bulls and the Hawks are always in like the 9-10 play-in game.
The last straw was the Trae Young trade. He said, I'm out of here.
We were talking about coaches and the Bulls being coached, of course, by Billy Donovan, and he's being rumored now as a possible replacement for Hubert Davis at North Carolina while we're talking basketball coaches. And I heard somebody say this morning on the way in, like, he's coaching the Bulls. Like, what are you doing with your life, Billy Donovan? What are you doing with your life?
Oh, seriously, if there was ever an exit route, if I'm in his shoes, I'm going to North Carolina.
Yeah, I think the Grant Linedecker statement here, and again, I get a lot of this is probably PR driven, but he says here in a rapidly evolving college basketball landscape, our priority is identifying the absolute best leader to spearhead the future of Butler basketball. Ronald Norred is that leader. The first word I think of with Norred is leader and energy. I mean, we all, I don't know if we all did, but I certainly watched every minute of that run that Butler had, and that's what he defined. This is not a guy that had some, Indiana-born jump shot that he was the starting point guard there, and, the recruitment. I think Matthew Graves even told the story. It's not necessarily, you almost kind of have to be, I really need to watch this kid in person. I don't think he's necessarily going to light up a box score, but yet when you watch him play, he makes, winning plays. Grant goes on to say, Butler AD, he's a gifted relationship builder who commands respect through his character and his craft. While he understands the soul of this university, we didn't hire him for his history here. We hired him for his vision of what we can become and how we will get there. His experience in the NBA provides us with a distinct competitive advantage as we navigate this new era of college basketball. I think there's a lot of truth to that. It's not necessarily you have to go out and find the college basketball background. It's more and more semi-pro, if not full-on pro. So those advantages or prerequisites or making a pros and cons list, not necessarily needed here. So really, really looking forward to it. He'll definitely win the press conference. I'll tell you that. He'll bring some high energy coming up noon
for sure
on Friday inside of Hinkle.
Well, he's the coach now. I'm all in. Let's see how it all goes.
Yeah, and just from a personal standpoint, he's a good dude.
Yeah.
So, and not saying Thad wasn't a good dude, but if you're gonna switch dudes, you want that guy to succeed, and he has a great relationship here in the city and really at all levels. I mean, from Brownsburg to the Pacers to now Butler.
And they certainly
Butler, whatever, booster, or you're someone that's got some money, and all of a sudden you sit down in a room with Ronald Norred, and he's trying to sell his vision, his program on you. I get words can only go so far, but that's all he has until September. I do think you would walk out of that room being like, okay, I can see why Butler would want that guy, want a guy who's 36 years old with no head coaching experience.
Yeah, and as not maybe cynical isn't the right word, but it does come down to money. And can you garner enough financial support to really build the best roster possible? Because as much as we want to talk about the coaching and the X's and O's, and I'm sure that's very important as well, sometimes, like, I don't question Thad Matta's knowledge of basketball. I do question what type of team he can build with a limited resource pool compared to the other Big East powerhouses.
Yeah. Energy will probably not be a problem for him. So that's what we're talking about. Again, a guy with a lot of assistant coaching in the NBA, a guy that played at Butler during the glory days with Brad Stevens. He's got a great story to tell recruits. I know what's possible here at Butler because I lived not one, two Final Four appearances and a national championship appearance. So don't tell me it's not possible. Because, two. I'm sorry, two.
Two national
Yeah, thank you very much, Kevin. But my point is I've lived it. Getting to the top is possible here at Butler. I can get you ready for the NBA, and I think the age at 36 probably a lot more relatable to today's current 17, 18, even 20-year-olds when you're recruiting in the portal.
How long into the press conference do you think somebody asked about the almost make from Gordon Hayward?
I say this all the time. I saw they played another video of it the other night. I know what's going to happen. I still think it's going in, James.
I know. I need to ask Coach Norred, hey, man, do you still think about that? He has to, right?
We would have to dig up some audio, Caleb, maybe if I could throw some homework on your plate here. We had Norred on, again, a couple of years ago before he coached in the Summer League. I don't know if I asked him specifically about the shot, but maybe just the run in general. I don't know if we could dig up any of that audio. We could maybe play that.
Something tells me we'll have a chance later on this week probably to talk to him about that. If not this week, next week.
For tomorrow's show there. Because, again, I mean, he was such a key element to those Butler teams. Maybe not from a scoring standpoint, but definitely as kind of their point guard. And Shelvin Mack did so much of the scoring in the backcourt, but a lot of leadership there from Otto Norred.
On this day, guys, in 1994, James, what happened on this day in 1994? Indiana sports.
I wasn't born yet, so you have to fill me in.
Kevin, I think I got old all in one moment right there.
This day in Indiana sports, I don't know. IU Final Four, was that 93?
Number 1 Purdue beat number 4 Kansas 83-78. Glenn Big Dog Robinson 44 points and 7 rebounds.
Of course, Purdue fans would quickly say, well, then he got a back injury wrestling in his hotel room, or is that the rumor there? Then did they lose in the Elite Eight? Is that correct?
Yeah.
This is from one of my buddies. He texted me and said, since Ronald Norred is coming over from the Hawks, can Magic City be a sponsor for Butler?
Boy, you might get a lot of people to answer the phone a little bit quicker than you would normally, right? Who needs Magic City when you got the Garter?
Lemon pepper wings and Hinkle?
I mean,
oh, boy.
Say no more.
Caleb, do you see the vision?
Who needs broad ripple chips and Hinkle when you've got lemon pepper wings?
It's about the wings, Kevin. It's all about the wings. Wes Chu writing in, one thing the leadership Butler has, Leindecker, Norred, Hayward, they all have in common, all overachievers, all winners. Okay. I'm okay with that. I don't mind. So I think most Butler folks are going to be happy with this hire, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's Matt. I already see some people reaching out of like, I'm skeptical about him never being head coach. I get that. Like, that's a very fair statement to make there. Now, again, I would point out that I don't think you could make an argument that it's pretty first-time head coachy for everybody right now in college athletics.
Because everything is so brand new.
You know, again, I'm going to go back to the Notre Dame basketball analogy. Like, Mike Bray had an unbelievable run at Notre Dame. I'm not sure that Mike Bray would have had the same success in this era of college basketball, because I don't know if Notre Dame wants to have success in this era of college basketball. I don't know if they've got the big boy pants on. And look, if you're Notre Dame, are you going to sit there and say, you know what? Let's take the $4 million for football and let's bring that over to basketball. I'd like to make the tournament every couple of years. Oh, really? You'd like to do that? What if $4 million got you 2 extra players that got you to the national championship game in football?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on now. That fan base ain't a bunch of Kevin Bowen and Ryan Bowens out there that love the basketball program. They want football. So that, to me, is more of the question of like, okay, where are you at now? And again, for all these head coaches, I think whether it's Tony Bennett, whether it's Jay Wright, whether it's, Bill Self's probably a little more health related. We'll see how that plays out. All of it is a little bit more of a Money, money, money. I see Tyrese Halliburton with a retweet of Butler basketball. So an endorsement there from the former Pacer assistant of Ronald Norred. And, of course, Tyrese Halliburton being a player.
Tim's a little disappointed in you, Kevin. Tim texting at 239-1070. Thought the breaking news sounder was confirmation that Tiger was going to play in the Masters.
Oh, man.
I think the breaking news sounder would have just been Kevin screaming.
I don't know. His comments post-round last night, I say post-round, he hit like 6 golf shots. He sounded like he's going to make an attempt. So I think we will get to Masters week, and he will try.
Leave the door open?
Yes. Which, honestly, is probably good for ratings and clicks. If Tiger cares
That's
about
crazy that
Oh.
he still has that kind of command, but certain sports figures just do.
Needle mover. Or he is the needle, right? Isn't that what they say about Caitlin Clark?
I was going to say, I would put them in the same breath. I mean, I've covered a lot of her games in person at this point in my career, and it is a rock star event every single time. She is more famous than you think she is.
I don't know how recent this video is, but the Colts posted something in the last 24 hours, showed Carly Ursay-Gordon putting on some Fever swag that was made just for her. That's pretty cool.
We'll be asking Carly Ursay-Gordon, do you plan on getting other players to put on jerseys for your team here in a couple of days?
That's the one you're more worried about right now?
Yes, for sure.
And don't blame me. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us on this Wednesday morning. We got Jay Query coming your way with more on the Ronald Norred hiring at Butler between noon and 3 today. JMV will have his 2 cents at 3 o'clock. Enjoy your day. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.